So good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the January 10th, 2023 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd like to ask Pastor Robert Kendall to come forward to give us an invocation, please.
Can't hear you.
Oh. Hey. There we go. Sorry.
Let's pray. Our Father and our God, we are grateful to start this new year and this meeting by coming to you. And God, I'm going to ask your explicit blessing on these commissioners, on all the business that will take place, on this county, on our state, and on our nation. You have richly blessed us, and we want to pause and say thank you. We want to thank you for all that you've done, but most of all for your Son, Jesus Christ, who gives us hope, forgiveness, and life everlasting. And it's in his name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So, the first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
Hearing none. Mr. President, make a motion to approve and adopt the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So, public service announcements today. I want to take this opportunity to welcome our 3 new commissioners. Today is their first day of a journey that is both rewarding and challenging. But at the end of the day, I know that you all have stepped up to serve because you have the best interests of Calvert County in your hearts. And with that, I am sure that you will do an excellent job over the next 4 years.
Thank you.
We look
Thank
forward
you.
to working together.
Thank you.
So unfortunately, we do have to pass along, excuse me, some condolences. Lynn Caswalter, who was a scout leader and a very active community activist, passed away recently. And Charlie Busey, who was active in some county boards and commissions and was a member of our ethics committee for nearly 20 years, passed away recently. So we want to pass along our condolences to their family and friends. We also, we won't be meeting next week because in observance of Martin Luther King Day, we want to remind everyone the important work that Dr. King did during his life. And there will be surely some celebrations next week. We ask you to participate in those and take a moment on that day to reflect on his life and his legacy and the important improvements that it made to all of our lives. With that, I believe that concludes my public service announcements today. That takes us into the first item of new business, which is County Administrator Mark Willis.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Willis, County Administrator. I'd like to start out first by, looking back at this. With me to my right is Director Kerry Dull. He's Director of Public Works. Before I begin the actual presentation, I offer my sincere apologies to our water and sewer customers for a poorly executed customer service leading up to the delivery of the audit findings. I offer my apologies also to the Board of County Commissioners. My lack of insight is what helped us get to where we are today, and that's not a place that I want to be. I also offer my apologies to Director Dull for a lack of additional guidance that might have helped prevent this, so I take responsibility for that. You, the commissioners, along with others, may seek to hold this board responsible, or even Director Dull responsible, for the way that this was rolled out. While Admiral Rickover is quoted definitively concerning the role of who is responsible, I will never relinquish that responsibility. It resides with me. I have and will continue to make adjustments as necessary to never embarrass this board again or let down our citizens. With that said, before the presentation itself, Commissioners, at the end of this presentation, I'll be seeking guidance and bringing back Resolution 32-16 and the audit process itself for as long as it takes to get it right. So as I go through the presentation, the memo that I have is reflected completely in the presentation. So with your authorization, sir, I will move forward with that presentation.
Yes, sir.
So equivalent dwelling unit audit is something that is within Resolution 32-16. What are EDUs and capital connections? An equivalent dwelling unit or an EDU. Also related, you might hear TAP or capital connection fee, but really we're talking about that EDU allocations assigned capacity permitted by the state for each water system in each wastewater treatment plant. One EDU equals roughly 1,800 gallons of water per calendar quarter, approximately 200 gallons per day. Capital connection fees are charged for capacity allotment or allocation to public water and sewer. The fees are needed to perform maintenance and upgrades to support the infrastructure that delivers safe water and for collecting, treating, and releasing effluent for the life of the system. Capital connection fees are $3,000 per EDU for water and $5,400 per EDU for sewer. What are EDU audits? An EDU audit is based on the actual water consumption during the audit period. The audit was performed only on those systems owned and operated by Calvert County Department of Public Works, Water and Sewerage Division. So while there are other water sewer systems out there, only those owned by the county and operated by the county were considered. The recent Calvert County EDU audit analyzes each county water and sewer customer to determine if the customer is on the accurate rate for water use. When was the audit executed? The most recent EDU audit reviewed water consumption of all Calvert County owned water and sewerage system customers between April 1st of 2020 and March 31st of 2022. Why is an EDU audit important? An EDU audit helps make sure that we maintain an accurate account of system capacity to effectively serve customers. Because the Water and Sewerage Division is a self-supporting enterprise operation, meaning the cost of operations is paid for through the fees it charges for service. Operational costs are supported solely by the customers that use the water and sewerage services. When water consumption is greater than the assigned EDU number, the Water and Sewerage Division is undercompensated for the cost of operations. Maintaining an accurate account of EDUs also helps the Water and Sewerage Division ensure that overall usage remains well within the system's capacity. Findings. After evaluating customer feedback, we identified a correlation between increased use and capacity on our systems and the public who may have been working from home during the pandemic. There could be an anomaly between actual use and the result of the pandemic. Resolution 32-16 allows for provision to exclude specific quarters of consumption when unique circumstances exist. Recommendation. Pause billing on a recently distributed customer bill as a result of the EDU audit, notifying customers of the billing pause while the county reassesses water use. Normal billing will continue. So while we will take a look at where we stand with the audit, we will continue with the normal billing cycle, and we will push out information so that we have a better understanding even with that basic bill before we move forward. Reassess audit results to capture use outside the pandemic period. Conduct public educational campaigns on water conservation. Reassess customer use to potentially include meter calibration and identification of any other potential system issues. Launch customer monitoring programs that will notify customers when the Water and Sewerage Division sees notable increases in water usage. Return to the Board of County Commissioners prior to distributing customer notifications when a report of the updated audit findings, and to include how the updated audit may impact customers. Again, Commissioners, with that, my goal here is to really seek your guidance on how would you like me to move staff forward in the form of work sessions, so that we get to the bottom of this. The pleasure is yours.
Questions?
I believe there needs to be an intense educational campaign as to water consumption, conservation, before we move forward with anything else.
Understood, Commissioner.
I would like just to say to the citizens out there who have received letters on this audit, I'm sorry. Let me reassure you that this board is committed to make this right. We will do the right thing. Thank you.
I want to echo what Mark said. We will make sure this is fixed, and we will educate you and make sure it is fixed. The education is that, well, I'm not going to go into that, but we are working for you, and we will get it fixed, and we will make it happen. Thank you.
Any other?
I just echo my fellow commissioners, and I actually have a motion. If we're ready for a motion, discussion's done? Okay.
Yes.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we pause billing that was directly related to the audit and recently distributed. That we direct staff to reassess the audit results to capture the capacity use outside the pandemic period. We direct staff to reassess customer, use the potential to include meter calibration, education, and conservation techniques. Identify any other potential discrepancies and direct staff to return to the board in public session with a report of the reassessment findings.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So I know we have an audience full of water and sewer customers out there, and I too want to apologize for what happened. There are people out there that said in their comments that they didn't understand why we didn't know what was going on. I just want to say that in this job, you know, you're asked to be an accountant, you're asked to be an engineer, you're asked to be a multitude of things, and we do rely on staff. And when staff came to us and said that they were going through what was laid out in their process to audit the customers based on water usage, and that 300 out of 5,000 customers were overusing their allotment. What we discovered through this was that you all probably had no idea that your homes or businesses were on an allocation and that you were overusing that allocation. And we're going to fix that. We're going to address your bills, so when you get your bill, it's going to show you what you're using. As I said, I had no idea that an individual residence was only allowed 18,000 gallons of water. You all probably had no idea that every time you turn on your lawn sprinklers or filled your pools or hot tubs or whatever, had no idea that that was going to push you over your allocation. And once we started getting comments from you all, I was shocked at some of the bills that you all received. And that's on me that I didn't dig deeper. But as I said, you know, we rely on staff. Staff comes to us and says, this is what we're supposed to do. This is what we did. 5 or 6% of our customers were overusing their allocation. But I'm repeating myself, you all had no idea that you were overusing your allocation. And we started to talk about then what we can do to remedy this, because this system, you know, is on there's not supposed to be any taxpayer subsidy into the water and sewer program. We're operating our system just like every other county in the state of Maryland. There are EDUs no matter where you go. If I don't know what information was provided to you that was provided to us, our EDUs are half the price of most of our neighbors. Our water rates are lower than most of our neighbors. And you all have been paying for the water that you've used. It's the system of EDUs that pays for infrastructure, and maintenance of that infrastructure is the complication that was not adequately addressed. And as was stated in the motion, we are going to do our very best to work with you all for whatever period of time it takes to figure out why your usage is up, make sure you understand where you are, and do our very best to help you all get in line and figure out the issues in our process and our system that we need to fix. So with that, that concludes this item on the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is, well, we have a public hearing scheduled for 10:30, which we cannot do until 10:30, and it's only 10:15. We have proclamations scheduled. Commissioner Hart?
Yes, sir. Do you want to go ahead and get started? No, okay. Do we have someone from Project Echo?
Oh, and excuse me, for 1 minute. So our process is that, I know some of you would like to say something. Our process is that public hearings are the only opportunity that citizens have an opportunity to make a comment specifically in that time period. But we do have public comment scheduled, which we always do at the end of every meeting, and you are more than welcome to stay, call in, whatever way you wish to communicate, you're allowed to do that at that time. Thank you. Commissioner Hart?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Do we have someone from Project Echo? Good morning. If you just want to say your name and what you do, and then come on up, please.
Good morning. My name is Kirk Swain. I am the president of the board of directors for Project Echo, the homeless shelter.
Howdy, Henry Treman, former president of the board of directors, and very thankful to you guys for backing us.
Good morning, sir. How you doing? Good seeing you again. How you doing?
Lori Herron, Project Echo Executive Director for 30 years. Not for 30 years, I've been with Echo, sorry.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning.
Julie Fuller, incoming Vice President, Project Echo.
Pam Howard, member of the Board of Directors of Project Echo.
Good morning, I'm Teresa Mullen. I am the Development Director for Project Echo.
I'm Brian Merrim on the Board of Directors.
And Fred Noble, Treasurer, Board of Directors, Project Echo.
Well, good morning, everybody. Nice to see everybody. Hope everybody had a nice holiday. And, you know, obviously what we're talking about is a very serious issue. And thank goodness you folks are out in front doing it. It's a difficult issue. It's hard to talk about. You know, some folks, it's an embarrassing thing. There's so many things come in to why there's homeless out there. More than you can put in any sentence. But because of you folks and so many volunteers and all reaching out, trying to help people, you know, we hope to have as few as possible. One's too many, you know, but, you know, it's such an honor to have you here. We thank you. And, you know, we want to be here to help you in any way we can. You know, they're all our people, right? I tell everybody, you know, you don't hire me to fight for St. Mary's or Charles, whatever, but once you become that Calvert County citizen, you're ours, you know, and that's how, you know, so I want to thank you. The board thanks you, and I want to start by reading you this proclamation. It says, whereas the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County desires to recognize organizations that strive to improve the quality of life for Calvert County citizens, and whereas in 1992, the Council of Calvert County formed a task force to start a homeless shelter. The Council for the Homeless, by 1993, Project Echo was incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit and opened a 16-bed emergency shelter for individuals and families experiencing homelessness. Their current 38-bed facility opened in 2010, providing not only bed and meals, but a clean, safe, family-friendly environment for residents to stabilize their life and benefit from supplemental programs which encourage personal growth and independence. And whereas Project Echo has continued to expand their emergency shelter services to meet the needs of our citizens experiencing a variety of events such as homelessness, addiction, developmental trauma, offering addiction recovery housing, transitional housing programs for families, shared living programs for individuals experiencing chronic homelessness. In 2017, Project Echo opened a thrift and gift shop where donations of gently used clothing and household items are sold with proceeds going directly towards the mission of supporting our homelessness. And whereas Project ECHO has been providing these services for 30 years and deserves a recognition for their contributions to our community, the great impact they have had on our lives, also, and have utilized their services over the past 3 decades. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that we urge the citizens of Calvert County to join in celebrating the 30th anniversary of Project ECHO. And be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners expresses sincere gratitude for the outstanding work that Project ECHO does for so many citizens of Calvert County, given under our hands and seal this 10th day, January 2023, signed by all 5 county commissioners.
Congratulations. Thank all of you for what you
Thank
do.
you.
I really do appreciate
Very
it.
much.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
So another proclamation for Commissioner Hart.
Do we have anybody here today to speak on radon? We do, okay. Okay, all right, then you just want to come on up front then? All right, we can do that. You want to say who you are and what you do there?
Good morning, Commissioners. Amalia Pleektam from Planning and Zoning. I'm Staff Liaison for the Environmental Commission, here with one of our members.
Come on up, please. Good morning. Thank you. Don't be shy. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm David Campbell. I'm the Acting Vice President on the Environmental Commission.
Good morning. How you doing this morning? Good, good. All right, is that it?
Morning.
All right. Well, this isn't an issue that people think about. You know, you don't think about radon, but it's there, and in more places than what we think it is a lot of times. And, you know, it's good to bring this to light for people to ask those questions. Do I have radon in my house or what have you? So thank you for helping to raise this awareness, and we hope that this gets out to people and that they ask those questions. So I want to read this proclamation for you. It says, whereas radon is an odorless, colorless, naturally occurring radioactive gas found in Maryland. Almost like my son, you know. Oh, I have to embarrass him all the time. Yes. So, sorry, Zach. So, whereas radon is the second leading preventable cause of lung cancer. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency estimates that radon causes 21,000 cancer-related deaths in the United States per year, with 2,900 of these deaths occurring among people who have never smoked. And whereas elevated radon levels are found in homes, entering through cracks in basements and lower levels, posing a serious health threat to families if not addressed. And whereas any home may have elevated levels of radon, and living in a home with an average of 4, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word, and don't have Steve Williams here. Would you like to pronounce that word? That's it. Per liter of air poses a similar risk of developing lung cancer as smoking a half a pack of cigarettes daily. And whereas the Calvert County Environmental Commission would like to raise awareness of the dangers of radon gas and educate the public that testing the home is the only way to know if a radon problem exists. Testing is easy, inexpensive, and if elevated radon levels are found, the problem can easily be abated. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that the month of January 2023 is recognized as Radon Gas Awareness Month. Be it further proclaimed that the Calvert County citizens are urged to become aware of radon risks, to test their homes for the presence of radon gas, and to take abatement measures that are necessary to help protect their health and safety from radon gas. Given under our hands and sealed this 10th day, January 23rd, signed by all 5 commissioners. Do we want to come down, Mr. President? I was wondering how long into the year we're going to scooch.
First meeting,
yeah.
always.
Thanks again, sir. Good seeing you.
Yeah. Takes us down to the Employee Recognition Award. Commissioner Hart.
Oh, okay, was it? Do we have somebody here for Employee of the Month?
Good morning again, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Amalia Pleek-Tam, Environmental Planner from Planning and Zoning, here to represent the Employee Recognition Committee to introduce Calvert County Government's January 2023 Employee of the Month. The Employee of the Month Award acknowledges individual excellence in effectiveness of public contact, respect for fellow employees, quality or quantity of work, contributions toward improving organizational morale, and actions that improve the county's public image. Anyone can nominate a coworker for this award. Please check out ERC's webpage on the county intranet for more information. Our January 2023 Employee of the Month is John Bennett, Public Broadcast Producer for the Department of Communications and Media Relations. John, can you join me? John Bennett joined CCG in October 2021 after 25-plus years in the public sector, where he created thousands of hours of educational and advertising content for a globally recognized ad agency. In August 2022, CMR, at the direction of the county commissioners of the county and the county administrator's office, was tasked with reimagining the Citizens Academy into a visually appealing, evergreen video educational series for furthering CCG's core mission of transparent governance. Once the scripts were written, John enthusiastically took the lead on post-production, editing, and delivery of 74 minutes of original content in only 25 working days. This was a monumental creative and organizational output delivered on time, with quality, efficacy, and poise. John is a post-production wizard and a creative powerhouse grounded with an approachable, respectful, and positive attitude. He is the type of creative talent and quality human being that continues to elevate Calvert County government's media presence locally, regionally, and nationally. The ERC is delighted to join the BOCC in recognizing this remarkable coworker. Thank you, John, for all you do, and thanks to CMR for taking the time to nominate. It is a testimony to John's stellar job performance and dedication. Thank you, Commissioners, for your continued support of the ERC and for partnering with us to recognize Calvert County government's truly remarkable workforce. And if there are others who would like to come speak on John's behalf?
Hello, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I just want to say I'm humbled. I'm honored. As you know, CMR is a really hardworking team, and to get singled out, I feel kind of guilty. I was just the guy on the back end who got it done by the due date. Everybody else, there's a lot of work involved, and I'm really proud of the whole team. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kevin Schmidt, Broadcast Manager. As John mentioned, or as we mentioned, he joined our team in 2021, and he's just elevated our outreach efforts and our product. We're super grateful and humbled to have his work, and just his attitude too. He's really easy to get along with, and always always elevates the product. So thank you, John. Aaron.
Aaron Lowe, Senior Communications Program Manager. Just to echo what Kevin said, John has been a delight to work with for the last 15 months, and I look forward to seeing what he comes up with next. Congratulations.
Well, John, you know how much I enjoy your department. Of course, my acting skills, I've tried to get a shot on one of these videos, but I never make the cut. I don't get the call back. Is that what they call it in the business, the call back? So I've tried, but we used to be known for curing insomnia and other sleep problems, but you guys have stopped that. And if you haven't been watching the videos, they're actually fun to watch. They're very educational. There's a lot of 2-minute things, because your attention span, you don't want to see a 20, 30-minute thing, and it's really fun. I encourage you, go on the YouTube channel, find it, County Government Thing, and they are very educational, and we have skilled people doing these acting roles. So, John, I want to give you this certificate, which says thank you. And as Commissioner Nutter always said, the most important thing, check. Did we scooch too far, Ken?
Yeah, just this way.
Thanks again, John. All right.
So we have approached the appropriate time, so 10:30 for our first public hearing is Department of Parks and Recreation, Director Nizal.
Good morning, Commissioners. Shannon Nizal, Director of Parks and Recreation. This is a public hearing for the purpose of considering and receiving comments regarding approval of budget adjustment number BA028 CIP, making available $700,000 for the design and construction of tennis and pickleball facilities at Cove Point Park. The county has adopted guidelines for conduct at public hearings as detailed in Resolution 6-89. This hearing will be executed to comply with that resolution. The hearing has been duly advertised, and there is a certification of publication in our files that constitutes the record of this hearing. A sign-in sheet has been provided for speakers and is located on the podium to the left behind me. If there are in-person speakers, I will call the speakers to the microphone before the public hearing is concluded. You will be called up in the order that you have signed up. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes if you are commenting as an individual, or 5 minutes if speaking on behalf of an organization. Please speak directly into the microphone so that viewers of the tape broadcast will be able to hear your comments along with those in attendance today. If you wish to provide comment via telephone, please call toll-free 888-475-4499 or 877-853-5257, meeting ID 899-4188-8251. Passcode if asked is pound, request to speak *9. This time I'll read the memo. Background: in the 2022 legislative session, the Maryland General Assembly and the governor adopted a state budget that includes an allocation of $1 million in grant funds to Calvert County for shovel-ready park infrastructure projects managed by the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. The Department of Parks and Recreation currently has prioritized funding for this cycle to the replacement of the tennis courts at Cove Point Park. Discussion. On September 13th, 2022, the Board of County Commissioners approved the submittal of the grant application for this project. On November 16th of 2022, the Maryland Board of Public Works approved the grant application for the Cove Point Park Tennis and Pickleball Courts project in the amount of $700,000 with no required match. A budget adjustment of this amount should be accounted for in the FY 2023 budget. The budget adjustment requires a public hearing because it was more than $150,000. Fiscal impact. If approved, amends the adopted budget for FY 2023 to appropriate and allocate $700,000 for the replacement of the tennis courts at Cove Point Park, as well as the additional design of restrooms and pickleball facilities in the same area to account 431103 CPP infrastructure upgrade, reimbursable by the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. Conclusion recommendation. Staff recommends that after taking public comment, the Board of County Commissioners close the record. Staff will return in 10 days to request Board of County Commissioner approval of BA028 CIP and request the Board of County Commissioners sign the related budget resolution. At this time, we'll check if anyone has requested to speak.
And if anyone who's joined virtually wishes to speak regarding pickleball, please use the raise your hand function or press *9.
Okay, we have one name, Mike Barnes, representing Calvert Little League.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
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 My name is Mike Barnes, and I reside in Brooms Island, Maryland. I will be representing the Calvert County American Little League today. It's my responsibility and duty as the president of the Calvert County American Little League to advocate for the best interest of the Little League and give a voice to the 1,400 Little League children and 300 volunteers that we represent. Calvert American Little League was established in 1970 and is one of the oldest leagues to provide a program for our youth. Calvert American Little League is the only league in the Tri-County area to offer the Challenger program, which is a program for mentally and physically challenged youth. I come before you today to represent the league to speak against the local park and playground infrastructure. Calvert American Little League and myself and the Board of County Commissioners submitted a Public Information Act request pertaining to the master plans in an effort to obtain more information from Calvert County Parks and Recreation's approach to this project. Calvert American Little League requested the fees associated with the PIA request to be waived due to the league being a nonprofit and the overall public knowledge of the information. This request was denied by Parks and Recreation and was estimated to pay $738 to $1,148 in fees, which we provided a deposit of $1,000 because county staff would not begin the PIA process until the deposit was provided. We formally requested a return of those funds from the Board of County Commissioners today, as these would limit the equipment purchases and need for the youth of the county this year. We also formally request this public hearing be extended until 30 days after the receipt of our public information request that we requested on, I believe it was November of 2022. The budget adjustment expansion of the tennis courts and pickleball courts is not a responsible use of the county funds and grant for the following reasons. The budget adjustment for these funds will eliminate Field 4, a 60-foot diamond at Cove Point Park for the expansion of tennis and pickleball courts. Baseball and softball organizations within the Calvert County are already struggling each year for fields. The elimination of a 60-foot diamond with no funding to construct a new 60-foot diamond will further increase the hardship of the Little League and other baseball and softball organizations throughout the county. Fiscally, there are other infrastructure items that require maintenance and need to be addressed prior to constructing new infrastructure. Those items are safety bases in all county parks. Every year, our youth suffers injuries playing Little League because of non-use of safety bases. Safety bases are detachable bases that would significantly reduce knee and ankle injury in our youth. The expansion of the pickleball courts in the areas makes no sense to tear down the existing infrastructure while the Dominion master plan a mile down the road proposes the use of tennis and pickleball courts at that facility. Field lighting in the county is needed for baseball and softball facilities. We continue to have to compete against other organizations in sports during the fall to be able to conduct games and practices. Modifications of backstops are needed to prevent a pitched ball and going behind the backstop where our youth can break their hand trying to retrieve the ball because the fence is popped up. We requested this in 2022 and it still hasn't been fixed to date. I'll close by reciting a famous quote by Deanne Hollis. The heart of a volunteer is measured in the size, but by the depth of the commitment to make the difference in the lives of others. We hope the Board of County Commissioners will consider these requests to benefit the safety and welfare of the general public and join us in our commitment to make a difference in the life of others. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm being told that there's no other speakers. Commissioner, I'll turn it over to you.
So the grant is to replace current tennis courts?
That's correct. There is no fields that will be taking out of commission. This is just to replace the current tennis courts that are there and add design for pickleball courts in that same area, but it will not displace any other sports or fields in that park.
So even if there is an expansion, it's not going to impact any of the other ball playing fields?
That is correct.
to repeat myself, make sure I was clear. Restrooms, if there's any expansion of restrooms or pickleball courts,
It will not impact
any
any other
other
fields or
playing
any
fields.
other amenities in that park.
And this grant that you got, it is specific, it was a specific grant provided by the state to replace and address
Park
tennis
infrastructure.
courts, any park infrastructure.
Any park infrastructure, what we have applied for was the replacement of the tennis courts at Cove Point Park because they are in poor shape.
So the items that Mr. Barnes mentioned in need of repair related to baseball fields, are they on a list to be?
I'm not aware of his request, so I will look further into that.
But if we identify those needs, there's a possibility that we could receive another grant or identify funding that could address those needs.
Absolutely. At the will of the board, yes, sir.
But this particular grant today requires no match.
That's correct.
So there's no county funds involved in this process.
That's correct.
Any other questions?
You asked Mark.
So if I understand the grant right, it's pretty much, take the grant for what it's specified for and make those repairs, or just leave 700,000 on the table. It's not really up for a lot of discussion, is that right? It's a pretty specific grant?
What has been approved by the state at this point is for Cove Point Park tennis and pickleball. If the commissioners would like to go a different direction, we would need to resubmit a grant to the state and let them know that we would no longer be pursuing the tennis facility.
And then at that point, do you take a risk of losing the grant because now you go in the back of the line?
Yes.
Right.
Right. So, okay.
I just had one more thing to add, and this is tennis and pickleball, correct?
The replacement is the tennis courts, which will again have pickleball lines on them. The design will also include design for restrooms and pickleball for possible future construction. It is the hope that the funding made available will be able to cover the replacement costs of the tennis facility, what's currently there as a replacement in kind. And if there's anything left over, then we might be able to move into the other ones. However, that would not be, we wouldn't know that until we were able to get the costs on the tennis court replacement.
Okay.
Shannon,
Yes,
please look into the gentleman's concerns and get back to us.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Right. But I do agree with Commissioner Hart. I am concerned that if we try to reallocate or, amend our application, that on the state level puts us in a situation where we won't get any funds to do anything. And we are trying to address needs, and we should take all the opportunity we can for outside sources.
And I would say too that if the priority is shifted, there is still there would still be a need for funding of the tennis court replacements because they are almost to the point of non-playable.
Well, and I think, and you and I, we've talked extensively over years. I'm at the ball fields every weekend or a basketball court somewhere, something, that every program needs money. Every program could be better. I don't think we have one that we could say, hey, wow, that's a 5-star program. We got, and I think every jurisdiction in the state of Maryland and this country is always struggling with things wear out, and, populations grow, sports grow. I mean, when you and I were at the one discussion, it's not one baseball team anymore. They play Parks and Recs, they play travel, they play school ball. So it's a whole lot more usage than there ever was in the past.
Absolutely.
And it's just trying to keep up with it. So, but we just keep going.
Yes, sir.
I believe the safety issues need to be looked at first, though. I really do.
If there are safety concerns,
If there
I'm
are
not
safety
aware of safety
concerns,
concerns, but we will absolutely look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
No.
Motion?
All right, Mr. President. Well, I make a motion that we take staff's recommendation that after taking public comment, that the BOCC close the record Return in 10 days to request a BOCC approval of BA028 CIP and request the BOCC to sign the related budget resolution.
I second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
So the second public hearing is Calvert County Sheriff's Office. Morning.
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 How you guys doing?
Sheriff, how are
Good
you?
morning, Sheriff.
Wills, how you doing? Good.
Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Payne, Assistant Sheriff with the Sheriff's Office. Obviously, with me to my right is the Sheriff, Ricky Cox, and we brought our LPR expert, First Sergeant Jason Dean, for any questions.
Good morning.
This is a public hearing. Anyone who'd like to speak at this hearing is required to sign up on the sheet to my left. So please come forward and sign up now if you'd like to comment. You'll be called upon after a brief presentation for your comments. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide the public an opportunity to comment on the issue to seek the BOC's approval of staff's recommendations. We are seeking a budget adjustment BA 111 in the amount of $199,973. This is a budget adjustment over the amount of $150,000 and requires a public hearing. Public hearing is necessary because at its conclusion, the board is requested to close the hearing and sign the resolution that approves the budget adjustment in the amount of $199,973 in grant funding. Memo was provided. Background, Maryland Department of State Police announced the creation of a new grant system created by Governor Larry Hogan and supported by the Maryland General Assembly. This grant program consisted of $5 million to be awarded only to local and municipal law enforcement agencies for the purchase of license plate reader systems, or LPRs. Discussion. The Sheriff's Office currently uses LPR technology. This technology provides resources for sharing of information, therefore assisting law enforcement in the fulfillment of their duties. LPR data information may be used for, but not limited to, crime analysis, criminal investigation, and target vehicles listed on a hot list, which include wanted persons, stolen persons, and amber and silver alerts. The one-time funding from the grant would support the implementation of a fixed site and some replacement systems for some aging mobile patrol units that we currently have. Fiscal impact, total grant award is $1,999,973. The Maryland Department of State Police would distribute awarded funds to grantees on a reimbursement of expenditures basis when proof of delivery, receipt, and proof of payment is received. BA 111 will increase the fiscal year 2023 adopted budget for that same $199,973. And conclusion and our recommendation is the sheriff respectfully requests the Board of County Commissioners, after public comment, close the record and sign the attached resolution for budget adjustment BA 111 in the amount of $199,973. And with that, do we have anyone sign up?
And if anybody who's joining virtually would like to speak, please use the raise your hand function or press star 9.
And we have one, I can't quite make out the last name, but it's Joseph Cormier.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Sheriff. My name's Joseph Cormier of Owings, Maryland. I want to speak out in support of this. Anything we can do to give our Sheriff's Office the tools they need to do the job to keep our kids safe is something we need to do. I feel like as a tourist destination, we have a lot of traffic coming in and out. We've talked about those traffic studies. So anything that we can do for our law enforcement to keep track of who's coming in and out. I know that we're in the age of Big Brother, and some people push against that, but it's the age we live in. We got to adapt with the times and keep moving our technology forward for safety. I would hope that the Sheriff's Office and the County Commissioners can also work to find a grant to put stoplight cameras on buses, because we do have an issue where students are let off the bus and have to cross the street, and people are looking at their phones and driving by those buses, and there's no way to catch them unless you're sitting right there behind them. So anything we can do to improve the technology for these deputies to do their job is well worth it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add?
Commissioners, I don't have anything to add. I mean, this is pretty much replacing some of our old units in a program that we already have in place, so.
In addition to the one in Solomon. I will like to add, though, that we are exploring to expand that program that he's talking about with the school buses and things, so that'll be
Looks pretty easy. It's gonna put the stoplight cameras on the buses itself. So. I think it'll be a good tool for us too as well, and the kids, keeping them safe. So I look forward to it.
Good. Questions?
You know, as the speaker said, there will be a little bit of public pushback, but I can tell you, when you guys first introduced me to this program years ago, I thought it was a great program then. I think it's a great program now. It will save lives. It's documented. It will save lives. It has already, the little bit that we've had, assisted in making arrests that we could have never maybe done in that timely a fashion. You know, it's sad government moves at a snail's pace sometimes, but it's not been for a lack of you guys pushing, you know. I'll be very happy when we get all the corridors covered, and you know, it's just another tool in today's world of adapting. So I'm thankful it's got this far.
Yeah, absolutely. That speaking upon your words there, in Solomon's in itself, we have a lot of crime in Lexington Park. We're all aware of that, and that's not only going to help us and keep us safe, but also it's going to help St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office too as well to solve crime.
Right, we are unique in our topography that we only have certain entrance points, and unfortunately, a lot of our incidences of crime are from outside sources that come into this county. So the license plate reader is a great tool to identify those individuals and help capture them as quickly as
Yes, sir.
possible. So
The next one's Benedict Bridge, so we'll work on that.
All 4 corridors.
Yes, sir.
yeah. Any other questions?
It is an outstanding tool. I've seen it work firsthand while I was at the sheriff's office, and it's pretty much irreplaceable, so we need to get those corridors taken care of.
Good.
All right,
Motions?
Mr. President, I make a motion to take staff's recommendation to, after public comment, close the record and sign the attached resolution, budget adjustment BA 111 in the amount of $199,973.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Commissioners. Have a good day. First meeting. It's good to be in front of you for our first meeting together, and I look forward to working for you years to come with Mr. Willis too as well. And I look forward to keeping Calvert County safe, and our public school system and our private school system safe too as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that takes us to appointments. Ashley?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Ashley Staples Reed, Special Projects Program Manager with the Office of the County Administrator. You do have 2 items to review under appointments today. However, the first item is various boards and commissions. So we do have a memo code with that I'll briefly read, and then we can go through the attached chart. So background, each year the Board of County Commissioners evaluates the appointment of its members to various boards and committees that require a representative from the BOCC or their designee. This evaluation historically follows the selection of the board's officers and the Maryland Association of Counties Legislative Committee member and alternate. Discussion, the BOCC officers and MACO Legislative Committee members were determined during the swearing-in ceremony of the Board of County Commissioners, which was held on December 20th. The following boards require a representative from the BOCC or their designee, and with your permission, I'll forego listing all 19 of those boards as they are listed on the chart. Fiscal impact is none, and the conclusion recommendation is that staff requests that the board approve any changes to its representatives on the attached board and commissions. So at this time, I'll go through each board and commission and provide a staff recommendation. So first on the rubric is going to be for Ann Circle, and it is recommended that you have Commissioner Mike Hart as the designee.
Move to approve? We're going to do that all the way down, correct?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next up is the Calvert Alliance Against Substance Abuse, and it is recommended that you designate Commissioner Todd Ireland.
Move to approve?
I need a second.
Second.
They're new. We have to work through this. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great.
Motion carries.
Next up is the Calvert County Traffic Safety Council, and it is recommended that you designate Commissioner Todd Ireland.
Move to approve?
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is the Calvert County Fair Board, and it is recommended that you designate Commissioner Todd Ireland.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Calvert Marine Museum Board of Governors, and it is recommended that you designate Commissioner Mike Hart.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The Calvert St. Mary's Metropolitan Planning Organization, and it is recommended that you designate President Commissioner Buddy Hance.
Move
Earl
to
Hance,
appro-
I'm sorry.
Move to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The College of Southern Maryland Calvert County Campus Advisory Board, and it is recommended that you designate Commissioner Mark Cox.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The Economic Development Advisory Commission, and it is recommended that you designate President Commissioner Earl Hance.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The Economic Development Authority, it's recommended that you designate President Commissioner Earl Hance.
Move to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The Fire and Rescue Commission, formerly designated as Jackie Vaughn, which was the Public Safety Director. She has retired since, so it is recommended that you designate Crystal Dowd, the Acting Deputy for Public Safety.
Move to approve.
A second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Friends of Jefferson Patterson Park, it is recommended that you designate Commissioner Catherine Grasso.
Move to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, for the Heritage Committee, it is recommended that you designate staff Christopher Sperling from Planning and Zoning.
Move to approve.
A second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Local Behavioral Health Advisory Council, it's recommended that you designate Director of Community Resources Jennifer Moreland.
Move to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
To reiterate, next on the list is for the Maryland Association of Counties, which was determined during the swearing-in ceremony. So next on the list for designation is the Metropolitan Washington Air Quality Control Committee, and it is recommended that you appoint Deputy Director of Planning and Zoning Carolyn Sunderland.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, it is recommended that you designate Director Shannon Nizal of Parks and Recreation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Social Services Advisory Board, it is recommended that you designate, again, no, did I just do that one? Social
No.
Services Advisory
No.
Board? Director of Community Resources Jennifer Moreland. I apologize.
Move to approve. I don't know how you could get confused. There's only a couple of these.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next on the list is a two-point designation. It's for Tri-County Council for Southern Maryland Executive Board. You do need a Board of County Commissioners representative as well as a citizen at-large representative. We are recommending President Commissioner Earl Hance for the BOCC designee, and then Christy Lombardi as the citizen at-large.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Tri-County Council Veterans Regional Advisory Committee, it is recommended that you designate Oscar Feaster.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And last on this list is the Veterans Affairs Commission, and it is recommended that you designate Director Melanie Woodson of Human Resources.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Well, that was fun.
While I'm still here, I'll do your second item very quickly. So we do also have a appointment for the Gambling Permit Review Committee, recently vacated by former Sheriff Evans. We do need a law enforcement representative, and staff is recommending that you appoint Captain Ronald Naughton.
Move to approve.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Well, that was exciting. So the next item on the agenda is the consent. There are several items under consent today. Item 1 is Department of Finance and Budget FY 2024 State Aid for Police Protection Application Certifications. Item 2 is Department of Public Safety Federal Fiscal Year 2022 State Homeland Security Grant. Item 3, Department of Public Works Budget Adjustment for Armory Demolition. Item 4, Department of Public Works, Maryland Department of Natural Resources, assessing the changing flood risk in Calvert County, budget adjustment and grant approval. Item 5, Calvert County Detention Center, FY 2023 Edward J. Bryan Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program Award. Item 6, Department of Planning and Zoning, Historic Preservation Tax Credit, Hampton Historic District. Are there any objections to the items listed under consent today? Hearing none, those items will be adopted as presented. That takes us to old business, Department of Finance and Budget, Director Strand. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
Sharon Strand, the Director of Finance and Budget.
Hi, good morning. Beth Richmond, Deputy Director of Finance and Budget.
Morning.
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 I'll go ahead and proceed in reading the memo. As a follow-up to the presentation given on August 23rd, 2022, by the Calvert County Veterans Affairs Commission, or CCVAC, they have asked the Board of County Commissioners to consider expanded local tax credits for veterans less than 100% disabled. The BOCC instructed staff to work with the CCVAC to explore options and associated costs. Discussion. Staff has discussed with the chair of the CCVAC 4 groups that could be eligible, or levels that could be eligible for property tax credit relief. Level 1, Gold Star and surviving spouses not married. Level 2, 75% to 99% disabled. Level 3, 50% to 74% disabled. And level 4, 1% to 49% disabled. Enabling legislation is required for the BOCC to consider offering a local tax credit for disabled veterans under the age 65 for levels 2 or 3, with an adjusted gross income greater than $100,000, or for level 4 for veterans 1 to 49% disabled and under 65 years of age. The following attachments are provided for clarification. Attachment A defines the levels and flexible parameters. Attachment B is the basic data used for the tax credit calculated using estimated participation rates. And attachment C is the basic data for tax credit calculated at 100% participation rates. Fiscal impact. Currently, the Board of County Commissioners provides $1.3 million in tax credits, such as land preservation, homeowner and fire and rescue, and law enforcement. The veterans tax credit would average about $1.17 million with a 10-year cost of $11.72 million, using the estimated participation rate. The veterans tax credit could average about $1.95 million with a 10-year cost of $19.54 million, using 100% participation rate. If authorized, the veterans tax credit will reduce the general fund revenues in addition to the tax credits already provided. Estimates would be refined during a public hearing on any option that you all direct to go forward. Conclusion recommendation. Staff requests direction from the BOCC. 1, whether to schedule a public hearing regarding any of the authorized property tax credit for veterans, and 2, whether to seek enabling legislation for levels 2 and 3 with an adjusted gross income greater than $100,000, or tax credits for veterans 1 to 49% disabled under the age of 65.
So Sharon, I've been diving into this a little bit, and actually, as Steve would like to say, my 20%, I'd like to see us come back on this. I got a few more questions, especially as we spoke this morning, some of the variables coming down in the budget. I just want to make sure we place this properly. It's definitely a valuable program. There's no doubt about that. Definitely something needed. Just want to make sure we get it right.
Okay.
If we could schedule to come back on this.
So we have the chair of the Veterans Advisory Committee with us today, if you'd like to add some of the discussion that you all had.
Please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brandon Temple, the Chair of the Veterans Affairs Commission here. I do want to clarify a couple points. Enabling legislation for levels 2 and 3. Right? That was given because at the direction of President Hance to assess the budget impacts for essentially the worst case scenarios. Right? As state law is applied right now, there is no need for enabling legislation for those who make an adjusted gross income in the previous tax year of less than $100,000. So the estimated, what we got, that 55%, what we think is estimated participation, is based on the fact that we have Maryland state data that shows that over 45%, about 45% of our veterans make over $100,000 a year. So if we apply these tax credits to a level 2 and 3, keeping what the state has at a less than AGI in the previous tax year of $100,000, we wouldn't have to go for enabling legislation on those two items. And that's the recommendation that I would give to the board. One, because this is what other counties are doing, and it's something we can do here without having to go back to Annapolis to ask for their help in new legislation. Two, as you know, we live in one of the most progressively political states in the country, and I do not believe that they're going to be in for the General Assembly giving tax credits to those who make 6 figures or more a year. And this can be bogged down in legislation and in the General Assembly for years and years, when we can do it the way the state has already laid it out and do it now. And that'll also reduce that overall funding level that was discussed earlier.
That was some of my concern, that once he got to Annapolis, where would he go?
I don't believe it'll go anywhere, in my
Yeah.
personal opinion. So we do have the means to do it now on our own for those who make less than $100,000 a year, and those individuals would have to come back and recertify each year. And other counties like Anne Arundel and Washington County have already done these things and have the mechanisms that we can kind of look at to ensure that people are doing that each year. The last point I want to make is on that last point for enabling legislation on level 4. In my reading of the legislation, there is a separate category for folks who are disabled veterans and doesn't have an age requirement with them. So I don't believe we have to go back for enabling legislation on level 4 either. Because that legislation actually offers tax credits to a group of folks, not just veterans, but eligible seniors over 65, et cetera. There's a separate category that is just for veterans and surviving spouses who have a service-connected disability rating with no age requirement, and that service disability can be established by the board with other distinguishing factors as well.
So Brandon, your 45% participation rate, was that across all 4 of these categories, or?
No, so it was just for levels 2 and 3, because those are the only pieces of legislation the state has that puts a adjusted growth income requirement on receiving the credit. So we took the 100% that we thought fits in that category within our county and just backed that off 45% based off what state has given us about veteran income in the state.
Right. And staff is just making sure that anytime we adopt credits that we're looking at full impact, if everybody did. And you didn't look into historical data from any other places.
Correct.
Well, go ahead, sorry.
No.
We use the 100% participation rate, and then the percentage of participation rate also. So there were two scenarios that we used to give you all a lower and a high, lower end and high end.
Understood.
And the great part about the lower end one, the expected participation, is that version is, we do not need to go back to Annapolis for level 2 and level 3, because we'll keep the income portion in there.
So if we use the participation rate that we see in other areas, that takes our 1.5 million down to 700,000. Is that,
So if we, on level 2 and level 3, if we leave the adjusted gross income, anything below the 100,000, then for those two levels, it would be roughly 800,000. Roughly.
that's a big help.
And that would be my recommendation for that route, because like I said, something we could do here, we don't need to go to Annapolis. I don't think we're gonna get what we want in Annapolis if we try to expand the tax credit to, those who are making over $100,000 a year, at least at this time.
Is that correct, Counselor? As far as enabling legislation, I just want to make sure.
Mr. President, we see bills like this for veterans every year in Annapolis, and none of them seem to pass. We were surprised, but when they do pass, they have income requirements. 100,000 is typical. So the conclusion for this memo is asking, do you want to schedule a public hearing on any of the authorities you have? And second question is, do you want to submit anything to Annapolis? I don't recommend going to Annapolis because I don't think it's going to be successful.
But we can do a public hearing on 2 and 3
Correct.
and move forward.
Correct.
I would also say on level 1 as well, and the other levels. So level 1 is for Gold Star widows, essentially, and if they're not remarried. Data we have, that I got from the Gold Star Association of Maryland, is that we have 8 in Calvert. They were unable to provide information on who or who is not remarried. But that level 1, I would also add in that public hearing, as well as level 4, if that's what you all wanted to do with that.
So to be clear, so 1 through 4 would not have to go to Annapolis, or 2 would still have to go to Annapolis? I'm sorry. So we would do a public hearing on 1 through 4?
We could.
Yep. As long as on level 2 and 3, we keep the adjusted gross income at 100,000 and
Okay.
lower,
Okay.
then we do not have to move forward with enabling legislation.
Okay, and that would give us time to kind of dive a little more deeper into this, and so that we know.
Correct.
Okay. We need a motion for that. Mr. President, I make a motion that we conduct a public hearing to look through sections 1 through 4. Would that be right? For availability for tax credits. If I'm saying that properly, County Attorney, good with that?
Yes, sir. That's a motion for staff to schedule a public hearing on tax credits for groups 1 through 4.
Okay.
A second?
So I have a motion, a second, that we move forward with a public hearing for all 4 levels of tax credits for veterans. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Takes us to new business, Office of the County Attorney.
Morning, Commissioners. John Norris, County Attorney.
Morning.
Morning.
Finish up my notes so we don't miss anything. I appreciate your time. If it's okay with the board, I'll dispense with reading the memo because we do cover it in the slide deck. There were 7 items that were received for the county commissioners to consider for submission to the state for the legislation. The reason that's necessary is the commissioner system is the oldest and most basic form of government in the state of Maryland. County's governing body under this form, the county commissioners, derives from the old levy court. Under that system, local justices of the peace would meet to calculate county expenses and determine the assessment rate for property. The separation of the judicial from the executive functions of local government began in 1794. That year also marked the beginning of the circuit court system. It was during this time that the county justices, also known as commissioners, were relieved of their judicial responsibilities, and circuit court judges became the officials responsible for the administration of laws. In 1794, enactment of legislation gave the county justices administrative powers, functions which they had previously performed. By the Constitution of 1851, the county justices were first referred to as county commissioners. However, until the Constitution of 1867, county commissioners were simply administrative officers in charge of county finances and taking care of public roads. The 1867 Constitution expanded the commissioners' power beyond the administration of public finance and gave them limited local executive and legislative authority. Therefore, all legislative and executive powers of a commission come from the state legislature. Consequently, the commissioners only have those powers granted to them and those implicitly needed to exercise the powers that the state has given you. Purpose of this meeting is to present the request for state legislation to the board and ask you to vote on whether the board supports each request. Those receiving a support of a majority of the board will be presented to the senators and the delegates representing Calvert County at a special meeting of this board this Friday at 3 p.m. here in the Circuit Court building. So go on to the request. Request number 1 comes from the Departments of Planning and Zoning and Finance and Budget. They're requesting that laws requiring legal notice be published in newspapers be changed to require the notice be published on the county's website. Like the legislature often entertains bills regarding veterans and seniors providing tax credits, this bill has come up a couple times in the past as well. It has not been successful. The newspaper lobby has been pretty powerful in Annapolis. I will tell you that Miss Ella Ennis was here today. She did offer opposition to this request because she said not all county residents are able to get to the website, so she's asking that you consider this request unfavorably. The cost of advertising public hearings has more than doubled in recent years, and of course we've lost the one of the county papers. It's now a tri-county newspaper of general circulation. But the primary purpose for this request, and the departments requesting this are here to support their request, but the primary purpose is cost and timing.
But the problem is, Ms. Ennis is correct. Not everybody is electronically connected, and that, you know, we talked a little bit this morning about how many people read newspapers today, and there are still people that read those newspapers. And even though the situation we're in today with our community paper of Southern Maryland, it's a significant section of legal notices someone has to go through. That's the only concern I too would have, is that for some people it is their only way of finding out, and while it's costly, it still is something that we may have to do. And I understand that we run into those situations where it doesn't get published on time and we have to reschedule hearings. You know, at the end of the day, we don't want to take away anyone's opportunity to know what's going on. That's only my 20%.
You're not wrong, and it's when do you make that move? I mean, it's an antiquated system because technology has made it so. But Commissioner Hance is right. It is the only resource for some people to have. Business-wise, it doesn't make a lot of sense as a business, but community-wise, it probably does. I just don't know how we start bridging that gap, because there is spots where it doesn't work because, you know, of, you know, the lack of availability or, but probably for today, like I say, I agree with Commissioner Hance.
I agree with Commissioner Hance as well.
I echo what they said.
So we can do these one at a time, or we can just wait till the end and adopt a package.
Yes.
Okay. Wait to the end. Are there any other questions on publication then, before we move on to number 2? Okay. Public Safety is requesting the following LoSAP amendments. Changing the burial benefit to a death benefit, increasing that benefit from $6,000 to $10,000. To increase the LoSAP line of duty death benefit from $6,000 to $10,000. And to authorize the Board of County Commissioners to approve an increase in payment of benefit amounts received by qualified volunteers that corresponds to the cost of living adjustment that you may approve, if you approve it, for county employees. All these 3 requests would have to take effect in public local laws, so they would have to, that's why we have to go to Annapolis to make the changes. And Mr. Richardson, I believe, is here if you have any questions.
So I can't participate in this. Do I need leave?
Yes, please.
So I have to recuse myself due to a conflict?
Thank you, Mr. President. So my 25% now, I'm all in favor. I truly am. It has been, and I don't want to use the word resource because it sounds cold, but the volunteers that have done this long before I was born, and have never ever stopped, never waned, never missed a day. They don't take a day off. Anything that can help with retention, that can help ease anything in their life, I feel an obligation to do because they do so much for us. So I'm in fact, I just hope it's enough. I hope it addresses enough. I always say that. So I'm all in favor for 2.
I'm also in favor of all 3. Commissioner Hart?
I'm in favor as well.
So with that, if it pleases the board, we'll go ahead and take a vote on this one now while the president, because I don't believe he's going to have to recuse himself
You
again.
need a motion?
Yes, please.
I move to approve item B, 1, 2, and 3 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you. The Public Safety Animal Control Division is requesting changes be made to the current rabies reporting requirements. Apart from Frederick County Animal Control, which has a specific written exemption, the Maryland Annotated Code requires that a person to immediately report rabies exposures in the local police or sheriff's office, and on receipt of a report, the police or sheriff's office notify the health officer and enforce all orders of the health officer and the public health veterinarian. Despite the current law, the county sheriff's office does not routinely receive reports of rabies exposures, nor do they regularly enforce the orders of the public health veterinarian or local health officer. Oftentimes, that falls onto the county's animal control division, not because anybody is shirking their responsibilities, just because that's where your animal control experts reside today. So this is a request that allows the public to report to the animal control division of the Department of Public Safety any rabies exposures, and from that point, the Animal Control Division will coordinate with the Health Department and the Sheriff's Office to make sure that necessary orders are issued and carried out, and that animals that can be quarantined are quarantined.
Isn't it funny to be talking about rabies?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, think about it, talking about rabies.
Surprising we need legislation to do this.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the ironic part.
Actually covered in the state law today, so it will be amending legislation. The 4th request comes from the Department of Parks and Recreation. This was a request that was actually submitted last year when Delegate Fisher reached out and let us know that we're leaving 2% on the table. That is, there is 2% of the amusement tax that the Calvert County is not collecting that Anne Arundel is on the electronic bingo. So it is limited in scope to the electronic bingo operators in the beaches that have the NG beach license. and would allow Calvert County to collect that additional 2% from the state. State would collect it on our behalf and pay it over to the county, just like income tax, real estate tax.
And last year, we thought we had this done, but
Thought we had it done. 4% averages is about $1 million a year, so we're talking about $500,000 a year based on historic averages that is being collected by the state and retained by the state. But no, this did not make it out last year because it got tied up with another bill on how many electronic bingo machines could be allowed. So, request, unless there are any questions on that, we'll move on to request number 5. Finance and Budget is requesting authority to create a local preference. So we currently have a provision that allows us to apply a reciprocal preference. That is, if, for instance, the Prince George's County company comes in and Prince George's offers a benefit for its local businesses of, say, 10%. In Calvert County, when they bid here, a Calvert County business would have a 10% advantage over that Prince George's County, is kind of the best way to say it. We take what that local jurisdiction does to benefit its businesses and apply it as a penalty to that business from that jurisdiction when they come to do work here. We don't have a true local preference where if you are a Calvert County business, that you have a preferential treatment in bidding so that you can have a percentage benefit or even a cap. What has been requested was, in the past, was up to $25,000. This doesn't get into the details. This allows the Calvert County Board of County Commissioners to conduct a public hearing in the future to decide where do you balance how you spend the taxpayer money? What are your requirements for a local business? What does it mean to be local? So this is only enabling legislation for you to be able to have a further discussion in the future.
And the emphasis for this was my first year, we awarded the contract for the Prince Redick Firehouse, which was an $11 million project. And we had a Calvert County locally owned business that lost that bid by $19,000?
Something like that, very small.
$19,000 on an $11 million project, and we could not give it to the local construction
It is
company.
beyond frustrating how this dies in Annapolis, and I know they're going to come up with some global excuse of why we're supposed to bow down and kiss the ring, but this pertains to us, our citizens, our people. You know, we should have input and in some type of device to make sure we protect our own businesses. I mean, what's the temperature this year, John? Is there any smell test?
There are expectations of changes in chairmanship on committees that could have a different result this year. We're just kind of staying tuned.
And I hope people are watching this because, you know, there's going to be a time during the year where somebody's going to go, how come you're not looking out for local business? This is where it's done today. Today is where it's done. So I encourage anybody to write their local, you know, legislation, you know, and this is good for people around the state. I mean, I would think somebody in Western Maryland or Eastern Shore would want the same rights to do with their people. It's not cookie cutter. So I really hope this thing gets some traction. Every year we get hit in the nose with a newspaper, you know, and it's just not right.
And as John said, the plan was always to work with the business community to determine what that number was, because, you know, once you do it, it can be reciprocated in other counties and impact them when they cross county lines. So we work together with the community, find out what the number is, but we've always hit a certain roadblock in Annapolis, and only thing we can do is try.
Right. Right. Okay. Request number 6 is from my office. We're asking for authority for the state's attorney to appoint the county attorney to enforce civil citations. This is only because of the form of government, because every code, home rule, every charter county, there is a provision in the state code that says the state's attorney can allow the county attorney to enforce our municipal civil infractions for zoning violations, for trash and debris. This would bring Calvert County into the same realm, if you will. Speaking with State's Attorney, he does support this legislation, though he...
So the state's attorney is with us, and if he'd like to
Oh,
have
he
an
is.
opportunity to speak on this, we would certainly welcome him.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good
Bob
morning.
Barnes,
Morning.
State's Attorney. I support this request. It would be limited to what you could term municipal infractions, county infractions. Currently, my office handles these, but we discovered that a couple of the, when it comes to the resolution of these citations, there is a possibility of civil fines and judgments being filed, which gets into civil court that my office just doesn't do. It really doesn't know too much about how to do them. So it would be appropriate, we believe, in certain circumstances, to allow the state's attorney to appoint a county attorney to enforce these citations. So we're in favor of this.
Would this address blighted properties?
Not directly. That's a land use decision that goes, now, once you have in place what it means to be a blighted property and there's a violation, yes,
It could be
it could
incorporated.
lean to that. But
Because that's something
you don't
going
have
forward.
today.
There's more and more of that, unfortunately, these days. You know, shouldn't be our job to tell somebody that you should keep your place clean. It really shouldn't be. Unfortunately, it gets forced that way. Sometimes a health hazard for all the things it creates and everything else like that. But there needs to be some standard on that. But yet, we've been very limited on what we can enforce. So.
You're welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And for those who were not there, it was quite a ceremony, quite an honor to be part of that ceremony.
It was really cool.
It really
really
was. The amount of respect that Mr. Harvey garners from the bench and his colleagues. Final request, asking for legislation that authorizes the Vice President to act in the written delegation from the President or from the removal, death, resignation, or disability of the President.
You want to say that again? You know something we don't?
In looking at our continuing operations plan in the event of a catastrophe, it was noted that there is nothing in the public local law that recognizes a vice president's role in administering local government if
I
there were
object to
some
number 8.
But I didn't want to let you know, but me and Doc Polsky were talking a little earlier, and it's not looking good.
So,
Do I need to recuse myself from that? State's Attorney, you see, I requested to recuse it.
that was the list that we've gotten from the departments. I don't know if there's any others the commissioners might have you want to take forward to Annapolis.
Discussion?
So, should I bring up the panhandling legislation that's currently in other counties at this point?
Sure. There are a number of counties that have legislation that addresses, in the state law, that addresses panhandling or solicitation of money. Calvert's not one of them today.
Can we add that to this list of legislation, please?
Yes, sir. So there are a couple different options. I mean, you could go from the full mixing bowl of Montgomery County and Prince George's where they actually define overpasses and underpasses. I don't know that that's necessary here. There are other examples of Washington and Allegheny County where they do have an opportunity for a nonprofit to apply for a permit.
That was
And-
my question. Would there be something in there where, you know, because there's some vital functions that happen, I don't want to prohibit any of them.
I know they used to do, and maybe they still do, and I just haven't seen it, the Fill the Boot campaign, so you'd have an opportunity for.
Would you have to have a permit for that?
Yes.
And we've walked down that road of permits, you know, unintended
Doesn't
consequences.
cost anything.
Huh?
It's free.
Yeah, I mean, but
So-
hopefully if we went down, we would have a lot of assistance to make it very easy. I guess.
It doesn't have to be complex. It can be certifying that it is in fact a nonprofit. Allegheny, I believe, has a 5-day limit per calendar year, and I believe Washington has a 1-day limit per calendar year. You could do something like that for each nonprofit. So it doesn't have to be complicated.
So we could look at some other examples from these other jurisdictions and
Yes,
maybe
sir.
find something.
And it is the traffic article where it's incorporated, correct?
That it is a Title 21 under the transportation article, because private property owners also have the ability to have trespass orders issued by the sheriff's office or Maryland State Police if they've got people that are soliciting money on their property with no solicitation signs. They can address it differently than the county would have to on public roads.
So John, right now, like at my shopping center, from time to time, it's been a situation, and the landlord, he will take and call law enforcement because it is his property. You know, people fail to believe that you see a shopping center, it's private property. Does law enforcement have any enforcement tools at this point once that happens, or does this address that, or does it not help them at all?
It does not address the current tool of trespass on private property. This adds a tool when they walk from the shopping center to stand in the median between the Giant and the Walgreens, or similarly up in Dunkirk between the Safeway and the bank across the street. That's a tool that doesn't exist today in Calvert.
And what is the deadline for final legislation? February something.
It's typically the first week of February. We're told that that bills that will be drafted must be submitted by the end of next week. So we're asking the delegation and the senators to take a look at what we have submitted, and please submit the bill for drafting, even if they don't have an opportunity to meet to see if they support it yet.
Is there enough time to add this?
Yes, absolutely. I will draft it up. What I think I'm hearing is follow the Allegheny and Washington County model. Is there a limited number of days you'd like each nonprofit to be available to have a permit? Is 5 the right number?
Yes.
5 per year? Okay. Then if there's consensus, we'll draft that one. And then we've voted on number 2, I believe it was. Yes, we voted on number 2. Is there consensus to move forward with the other 6? Well, Mr. President, while you were out of the room, I asked for a vote.
And I don't think there was consensus to move item 1 forward.
No.
Is the newspaper?
Oh, correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So that leaves us with what you all did with 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8.
Through, yes, 6 of them.
So is there any discussion on those remaining items? If not, the chair would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to accept 1, then 3,
No.
no.
So,
that's what-
if
yeah.
there's
3
consensus
through
not to
8.
move item 1 forward, then the motion, if you all would, if that's your desire, would be to move forward items 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8.
Okay, so, Mr. President.
Is that
make a-
correct, Counselor?
I believe
Remainder
number
of the item.
6 as well. Number 6 was,
Sorry.
State's attorney to appoint the county attorney to
No,
enforce.
that's item 7.
That's the old
Oh,
form.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking at the old
old
list,
one.
excuse
sir.
me.
Number 6
Yeah, so
is-
it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And would that encompass the new
and 8.
and 8?
So 3 through 8.
3 through 8.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, Mr. President, I make a motion to accept items 3 through 8 for legislation consideration.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we move forward items 3 through 8 for legislative consideration. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
that takes us to presentation, Department of Finance and Budget.
Fun.
Still morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Again, I'm Sharon Strand, the Director of Finance and Budget.
Beth Richmond, Deputy Director of Finance and Budget.
So I'm just going to read the brief memo. The background, prior to the annual budget process, staff meets with the county administrator for budget guidance for departments as they begin their staff requested budget. Discussion. The budget process is 4 cycles: staff requested, staff recommended, commissioners, and adopted. The presentation will provide an overview and the timing of the 4 cycles. There's no fiscal impact, and this is for informational purposes only. So the annual budget. We develop an operating budget, a plan of financial operation consisting of an estimate of proposed expenditures for a year together with the proposed means of financing those expenditures. Capital budget, as I mentioned earlier, this is just a brief overview of the capital budget. When Veronica Atkinson comes to you in late January, she's our capital project analyst. She will be giving you a more in-depth detail of how the capital budget process works. So we do maintain a capital improvement plan or capital budget. It's a multi-year plan. It's a 6-year plan. Only the first year gets adopted. The rest, the 5 remaining years are just for planning purposes only. And it just helps staff, departments, and the commissioners plan out what you want to see over the next 6 years. So it's the next, again, the first year is adopted is legally adopted when we adopt the budget, and the 5 remaining years are for planning purposes.
But you remember too, it's important to point out that you sign off your building a doghouse.
Yes.
Okay? You committed to the next 5, 6 years, so I know that sounds very benign, but it is not. There are teeth in signing on that first one, so cautionary tale. You say, oh, it's just for design. Oh, it's just, wrong.
Right.
So you are making a long walk to commit to really the cost of that project. So when you look at that project, really you're making a decision that we're going to go ahead and fund that project. So don't want to,
Correct.
and don't want to get a whole CIP thing, because then we'll address that. But I don't want it to seem like it's harmless, because it's got teeth.
Yes. Thank you. So the operating budget. This is a high-level bird's-eye view, if you will, of how we develop our annual operating budget. The operating budget funds county services and operations based on the most reliable estimates available at the time. This funding is aligned with the board's goals and the departmental objectives, which dovetail with those goals to provide the service level desired. The operational budget is composed of 3 main categories. First one is the day-to-day operation costs for personnel, materials, and equipment that departments need to do their jobs. B is the fixed costs for entity-wide costs like debt service, insurance, pensions, and retiree health. These fixed costs are not directly related to any one department, but are budgeted for the entire county as an entity. And finally, we also provide C, support for other county organizations, with the largest being the Board of Education, the College of Southern Maryland, and the Health Department. Also, we have quasi-governmental agencies that we fund and some nonprofits. Our budget cycle is in 4 phases. And we go through each phase in detail on the upcoming slides. Right now, budget staff is preparing the first phase, the requested budget, which starts soon. Then in early February, we move to the second phase, the staff recommended budget. The public hearing for the staff recommended budget is usually held in March. The third phase, the commissioner budget, begins once the staff recommended hearing is held and continues through May when the commissioner budget is presented. The fourth and final phase is the adopted budget. The fourth phase is completed in June once the budget resolution is passed. How the board's goals impact the budget. On the prior screen are the broad goals provided by the prior board to direct county spending. Departments determine their individual objectives on these goals. A more detailed description of these goals is provided in the budget document, along with the icons that pictorially represent these goals. We visually link the departmental objectives to the board's goals using these icons. We ask that departments link their operating objectives to the board's goals using the SMART methodology. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based.
So as you saw on slide 5, our first phase is the requested budget. We start the process in September by asking for guidance on such things as spending levels. Will we keep the operating base flat? Salary changes. Will we include a step and/or a COLA? And staffing changes. Will new positions be considered? After we have the budget guidance, we provide budget packets to county departments that include budget request forms along with a summary of the board's guidance. Finance and Budget and Community Resources also contacts outside agencies for their requests. The budget requests are due back from the departments in October. November is the time when the budget staff really goes into high gear on processing the requests. These activities start in November but continue on into December and January. There's a lot of calculations, reviews, and discussions that occur. They include calculating a salary budget for over 1,000 employees, reviewing capital outlay requests for new and replacement equipment, performing debt analysis for capital projects, calculating the Board of Education funding levels, and calculating other entity-wide costs like insurances and pensions. These items, as well as projected debt costs, are budgeted with the knowledge that the figures are preliminary estimates and may change again. The data is updated as new information becomes available. In December and January, staff meets with each organization in order to make sure we gain a full understanding of the budget requests. We discuss the request and work together to evaluate wants and needs, which we then separate into base and new. Base requests will be recommended by the staff to be included in the budget. New requests will be detailed on an unresolved issues list and sent to the county administrator and the Board of County Commissioners for review and possible inclusion in the commissioner's budget. This list may include new staffing, new equipment, and/or new initiatives. We also review the budget requests for outside agencies like the Arc of Southern Maryland and Anne-Marie Gardens, and we determine if follow-up meetings are necessary to meet with the board. Along with reviewing the dollars in the budget, we review all of the performance objectives to ensure they are consistent with the BOCC's goals. In February, we transition to the second phase from requested to staff recommended. We update forecasts with new information on revenues, we update other line items as needed, and then we look at two things. Is there a budget gap, and have we achieved the board's objectives? We may need to go back to further refine the numbers and may suggest additional expenditure cuts or other budget changes to balance the equation of revenues equals expenditures. If we can't make it work with available revenues, we may use county savings or fund balance for the difference as a placeholder. Fund balance should not be used for ongoing operational costs, but could be used as pay-go for capital projects. During this time, we are still updating the unresolved issues list between what was requested and what was recommended. As Sharon mentioned, March is when we hold the public hearing for the staff recommended budget. So we complete that in early March and we post it on the county's website. We try to get it out as early as possible, but we have to ensure accuracy because important decisions are made based on the information provided. So at the public hearing, we present this to the board and to the public, and we receive public comment, and afterwards, the citizens can also provide additional written input at any time. Once the staff recommended budget is complete, we update the numbers again if we have better estimates. During the month of April, we meet with the board to discuss remaining unresolved requests. This consists of items that were not included in the staff recommended budget due to funding constraints or because they fell outside budget parameters. In addition, the board may have other changes for their budget. They may be increases or decreases to either side of the budget equation. Again, we just need to make sure that revenues equals expenditures. Or there could be adjustments to expenditures to redirect the budget based on higher priorities. In May, we complete the third phase of the budget. We process the changes from the board and complete the next version of the budget, the commissioner's budget. We publish the second budget book with all of the updated information. In the staff recommended budget, capital project information is presented in a condensed summary format. In the commissioner's budget, the capital project information includes detailed project worksheets. Before Memorial Day, we present the commissioner's budget to the public. The fourth and final phase. It starts after the public comment period for the commissioner's budget. All final changes need to be made at this time. In June, about 2 weeks after the commissioner's budget public hearing, we come back to the board with a budget resolution and a recommendation to approve the budget. This resolution is voted on by the board at the first agenda in June. Assuming the budget passes, the adopted budget book is finalized and is posted on the county's website before the end of June. It is a recorded legal document that sets the spending limits for the new fiscal year. At close of business on June 30th, we roll the adopted budget into the accounting system, and it unlocks the budget for the new fiscal year that starts on July 1.
So this slide, the future budget challenges, which I think we've briefly discussed earlier today. So these are potential, not really potential, but these will have impacts on our budget, not just for '24 that we're working on right now, but future years also. The blueprint for Maryland, lower revenue projections that we're seeing. COVID, how it's impacted us in the past and how it's going to impact the future. Recession goes back and forth on how long are we in a recession? Is it going to be a short recession? Is it going to be a long recession? Those are things that we're going to factor in. Inflation, we've all know that that is a hot topic right now. We've seen it over the last year, how our prices, consumer index prices have just been growing and growing. So that's something to consider going forward also. And then the sustainability of our current expenditures. Because of the consumer price index and we are having lower revenue projections, it's going to be a tough budget year. We're going to have to, some hard decisions are going to have to be made now so we can sustain it going forward into the other future fiscal years. I just have the 3 R's on here right now. Just a reminder to staff, departments. Reality, do I need this? Restraint, can I wait to have this? And responsibility, if I buy this, will I stay within my budget? So it's just a reminder for our staff going forward as things do escalate. I wish I could answer some of these questions definitively, but I can't. It's ever-changing day to day, but we will take the most recent guidance that we have and present it to you all and look for your all's input too.
Sharon, on this slide, and boy, I'm hoping I'm on the right agency. Is it Moody's? Has changed the requirements? Is that the one? I don't want to be wrong, but you know where I'm driving.
Yes.
It's going to be important to have those requirements before we even say word one, because, that changes the entire budget process, everything. Because if we can't stay within those guidelines, then, so we're going to have to adhere to any word when that will start getting their definitive, what they're looking for.
We do have a little bit of guidance right now, working with another outside agency. but we haven't ironed out everything yet.
They haven't
So-
done any of these yet, have they? Have they done any?
I don't know if they have done any for any of the other
Jurisdictions.
jurisdictions, but because we did not go to bond sale this year.
Right, that's why, yeah.
We did not have a rating agency review this year. This year meaning calendar year '22. Typically, we do not go 2 years without a bond sale. So we will most likely have a bond sale this year. We will go to the rating agencies.
And I'm drawing a blank. Young lady we deal with,
Jen?
Jen, she's still
Yes.
in that mix?
Yes.
Maybe we could reach out to her
Mm-hmm.
and see if she's had some examples, maybe some similar jurisdictions that, requirements could be very similar to ours, just to kind of have that going forward before we go through there. I just trying to
Yeah.
think as much out of the box as I can.
It's a great suggestion, and we will reach out to Jen just to make sure that we are on the right page. We do have one big capital project coming up, which is the new County Services Plaza. We have reached out to Jen and her team in doing a separate bond sale for this, and she believes that over the time period, if we do move forward with the County Services Plaza and sell bonds, it would be a multi-year bond sale. It would be all sold in 1 year.
Oh, would be? Oh,
It would
okay.
not be.
Oh, would not, so
'Cause
that
we
would
don't
leave us
wanna
at the
sit on
mercy
that
of the
money.
market then?
Hmm?
Put us at the mercy of the market then per phase, correct?
It would, and that could be good or bad,
Don't
but
like
we
that.
also don't want to sit on that money
Because the
and
short
not
term's
spend-
not good for borrowing.
Right. So,
We
you
could
know,
be at
we'll
a higher
take their
rate.
guidance also, but because this is a one-time large project, we have received guidance that it would not affect our bond rating, this one big project.
As long as we still did it over multi-years. But if we tried to bundle it up into one, would that affect the rating?
I don't believe so. You know,
And I'm asking you with a crystal ball, right? Because
Right. We
you
just don't know what's
you
gonna
don't know
happen.
with the winds out there that all of a
Mhm.
sudden government steps in and says, hey, I'm going to, lower the lending rate, what have you, or yeah, I know, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, just when we get in that discussion, that's
Yes.
a huge variable.
right, and I'll make sure that those options, and that we address those questions going forward.
Commissioners, if I may. County Administrator Mark Willis, when the bond rating agency started to tweak the way that they were going to look at counties with reference to obtaining or maintaining a AAA bond rating, staff at that time reached out and basically asked to be tutored on what were the changes, what in those changes is different from the last time they did an analysis of us. We took a look at that. We've already, and I say we, staff has already been looking at how to stay ahead of the game. So even to the point of, we have that $26 million cap when we do CIP projects in a year. However, one building is going to cost, twice that. So that's why we reached out and asked if we maintain the $25 million cap, but run a parallel program at the same time with our rating, what is their advice as we move forward? And their advice is that we are fiscally responsible and that they would actually support us moving forward. That doesn't mean we're going to. That means it's an option that we can present to
But
the
they
Board of
believe all
County
three
Commissioners.
agencies would be in line.
So we've reached out to them through Joe and Jennifer to make sure that, they are our consultants. We want to move in the same direction that makes sense, or in a direction that makes sense. And staff has been working on that from the beginning. So I think that the fact that we didn't ask for a bond sale this past year kind of helped us push off and become more knowledgeable of where we need to be. So I think we know what we need to do. We just have to stay on top of it.
Good.
So this slide just gives a brief overview of opportunities for input regarding the budget. Again, citizens can always correspond with the board and the legislature. After each public hearing, there is always an open comment period for the public to send in their comments based on the budget that was presented. We do have work sessions, especially with the capital work sessions coming up. During the regular VOCC meeting, there's always public comment during that period for the public to make their comment. We have open planning commission meetings, and again, the next two are just our normal budget presentations. And again, we do have some town hall meetings and social media, which they can respond to. And now I'll just open the presentation up to any additional questions that you have.
Just for clarification, Sharon, does each division submit a written justification for their request?
Not by line item, no. If it's flat, they don't have to submit a justification. If it increases, so let's just take contracted services. We know there are escalating clauses in contracted services. So they will let us know, give us an explanation for that. If they're requesting, 5,000 more in gasoline, they would have to, that would go into the new request.
Okay.
And not into base, and they would have to give us a detailed explanation. Because those new requests are what we're going to bring to Mark and the board as to how they want to make or when they make a decision on, do they want it included in the next budget cycle. So it's really the department's chance to give an explanation of why they need this new funding.
Thank you.
So the budget guidance this year was to remain flat. Again, we already know that contracted services has an escalation to it because of, those are signed agreements going forward. Currently, gasoline is fluctuating up and down every day. So we have seen some requests for that, but again, a lot of this will be going into new, if there's a new initiative that the department would like to do. If there's new staffing requests, it'll go into new. And that's what we will be bringing to you and Mark to review.
Commissioner, I think in a nutshell, if it's flat and they stay flat, they've already justified it. If they want to add an additional vehicle, an additional staff member, an additional initiative, we do ask for in detail why, because there's it's like a domino effect. If you ask for another person, that person might need a vehicle. That person will need a computer. That person might need uniforms. That person might need a desk. So it's not simply, I want this. It's I want this and the domino that follows it, and that's where the detail comes from. You don't just ask for a person because they need a computer probably, or they need uniforms, or they need overtime built. You need the salary, you need the overtime, whatever it is. So the detail comes in the new portion of the budget.
So just to reiterate one more point that Sharon brought up in her slide presentation was a blueprint. We got a briefing this morning, we get another one the 24th. Nobody knows what that number is. So I'm just putting it out there that this budget's going to be a difficult one. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have any questions, Beth and I are here. If you want to send us questions as you think about them, please let us know.
Thank you.
Always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us down to public comment. Counselor?
Thank you, sir. The board adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. Copy is found in front of me here. The Ethics Commission has asked us to remind speakers of public comment that lobbyists include those who seek to influence public policy, and lobbyists must register in advance. The floor has been open for public comment from persons in the meeting room who may begin making their way to the microphone, then those joining virtually. All speakers are asked to identify themselves and whether speaking as an individual, where you'll be allocated 2 minutes, or as the designated representative of a group, where you'll be allocated 5. For those attending virtually, please press *9 or use the raise your hand function. Virtual speakers will be identified by the last 4 digits of your phone number or your screen name.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Joseph Cormier, and I'll be speaking on behalf of Calvert CCAC, the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee. Good morning. I do want to take a moment of personal privilege and congratulate you all on your seats, and to thank Ashley Staples and Jennifer Morgan for all their hard work when we make requests from them. So special education is a topic we can talk on for the next 5 hours, and I've got 4.5 minutes to talk about it. There's a poem called Welcome to Holland. And the gist of it is that you're getting ready to have a baby, and it's like planning a trip to Italy. And you plan for months, and you save up, and you get on the plane, and you fall asleep, and you wake up, and the stewardess says, "Welcome to Holland." And you're like, "But I didn't want Holland, I was going to Italy." And you get confused, and you have to go out and find a new language and new guidebooks and all new things. And the more time you spend there, the more you realize Holland isn't bad, it's just different. And your friends might be coming in and out of Italy and talking about all the fun things they're doing, but you're finding Rembrandts and windmills and tulips, and eventually you'll learn to love Holland as much as you would have possibly loved Italy. And in Calvert County, about 10% of our students are in some sort of special education. So that translates to 10% of our total population could be part of that. So this morning I had a meeting with Sheriff Ricky Cox and the Arc of Southern Maryland, and the Fraternal Order of Police presented them with a donation and started that conversation of introducing them to the special needs community. So getting out of the silo of just this person does this and just this person does this, to finding ways across the community to support our people with developmental disabilities and physical disabilities is so important, especially now that we're coming out of the pandemic and we can get people back volunteering and get people back into these roles. For a child who enters special education, it could be your first child and you don't know the signs to look for, or it can be your 5th child, or it could be an adoption, whatever. But when you get those initial steps and you sit across the table and there's 15 people who are telling you about your kid, it's very disorienting. So having the information to be able to share through CCAC, we present this presentation with Parents Place in Maryland to help parents understand the resources that are out there. For our young kids, the earliest interventions are the best. So getting into infants and toddlers, getting into HIPPY, the home instruction for parents of preschool youngsters, getting in with the Judy Center, the library, Parks and Rec, getting those services out the earliest possible provides those dividends as we get into the older years. And when the bus stops coming at 18 or 21, we have to be able to provide for those people in our community through the Arc of Southern Maryland, through TCLE, through Parks and Rec, through the Department of Aging, Department of Rehabilitation Services. It goes on, but we have to break down the barriers. I know budgets have to be this bucket and this bucket and this bucket, but we have to be able to break those barriers and make sure that these people get the services that they need to not just survive in our communities, but to thrive in our communities. So I hope as you get the fire hose of information in your new roles, that you reach out to Calvert CCAC and use us as a resource, because we're happy to help and share that. We hope to see you at our CCAC Awards in April, and we're looking forward to Calvert County Public Schools doing their Special Olympics / special ed track and field event here in the spring. Thank you so much, and you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sherry Verdon. I'm speaking on behalf of the Marley Run HOA Board. We all know and understand that the rollout and implementation of what happened to us was wrong. While everything about the implementation of the bill was wrong, that cannot be the main point that is brought forward. The main point that needs to be emphasized is not that this was executed poorly, it's that it should not have been done whatsoever. This 2016 resolution cited at the top of every letter received was not intended for residential. I can see from the 2016 interoffice memo that there was no fiscal impact because it was supposed to be commercial and developer accounts, and they were supposed to make the fund whole after the audit. In the 2016 memo under background, it says that they worked with developers, commercial businesses, small business interest groups, and county staff. Who represented the homeowners in this? It's all about commercial. So this resolution went from no fiscal impact due to fees and refunds and intended for business commercial consumers and new residential customers, and then changed to being targeted at existing residential customers retroactively. I think we all know, especially the Water Sewer Division, that cap fees are one-time fees that are charged when a home is first built or connected to the water systems. In 2016, Director Sharma had emphasized prior to beginning his presentation that this resolution only pertains to the businesses, and he stated with conviction that with this resolution we are not changing anything for the homeowners. Let me repeat, we are not changing anything for the homeowners. Now, here we are 6 years later after the passage of this resolution, and the homeowners are told suddenly out of nowhere that this is not the case. I was told by Mr. Lewandowski, Finance Manager at the Water Sewer Division, that the fee was not a one-time fee and we would be recharged and reassessed annually. I was told there was no refund for the cap fee if next year the usage is back under the threshold, and that every year there is an overage, you will be charged a new cap fee. I'd like to repeat that a capital connection fee is a one-time fee to connect to the system. I was told this fee was transferable because it belongs to the residents and not the homeowner. People who just moved into their homes are responsible and now faced with double water rates or more than double until they can be assessed again annually. This was intended for businesses, and that's why none of it makes sense when applied to residential customers. The question for the Board of County Commissioners is, who was behind the change of intent from business to residential? Doesn't this type of change require a public vote? And why is there now a desperate need for additional revenue at all costs, especially when there's no fiscal impact? They are destroying people financially for what? Let me also say that we have paid what we agreed to pay. We pay for our usage, we have paid or are paying our capital connection fees. The national average for a family of 4 is 300 gallons per day. If you build a 4-bedroom home, you are required to install a septic system that can handle 400 gallons per day. Were we set up for failure? I am calling for an audit of the Water Sewer Department. What about the discrepancies between billing usage and reading? How does a 65-year-old single woman who works full-time and lives in a small single-family home in Prince Frederick receive a bill for $16,800, indicating the water usage of 3 households? She is one of many whose circumstances do not match up with the numbers. From 2006 to 2012, the county made great progress with a 7-year plan to raise rates gradually and thoughtfully. Why did this not continue from 2016 and 17 until now? The implementation of this plan is not the problem. The plan should not exist. Was it the abandonment of the rate plan that led the Water Sewer Division to where we are today, having to charge average single-family homes and townhome owners thousands upon thousands of dollars for residential water usage? As was stated very eloquently by a resident at the 2006 public comment when the resolution was passed, we residents are not the biggest water consumers. Why has the county not publicly posted the audit results? Should consumers have to dig for this information? The Water Sewer Division has been anything but transparent. The consumers fund and pay for this enterprise. We have a right to all of this information, and it should be presented to us. I am asking that the commissioners help us in this full audit and demand that we, as the consumers, are reported to. If the current leadership in the Water Sewer Division is incompetent enough to send these bills for a pandemic audit with apparently no approval out to hundreds of residents, are those individuals truly qualified for the complexity of understanding that these positions require? The idea to pause and reevaluate and revisit in 1 year, taking out COVID from the equation, is not acceptable. The resolution needs to be rescinded or amended to exclude residential as was initially intended. The Water Sewer Division needs to be audited, and the audit needs to be made public for consumers to review with full transparency. Please stand behind us in our expectation for the Water Sewer Division to comply.
Thank you, Sherry. Well, good afternoon now. I was going to say good morning, but good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here to speak to you today directly. My name is Warren Mart. I'm a resident in Marley Run 3 in Huntingtown, 20639 zip code. My story starts with a letter from Mr. Chris Hall, sitting over here, dated December 20th, 2022. It stated that I needed 2 additional EDUs at a cost of $3,000 each, a total of $6,000. The letter, I'm sure you've already seen it, there was no appeal process, no explanation. I live in a household of 2. And when I look at this bill, I think it's pretty outrageous. Okay? Something is not right. So what caused this to be passed on to approximately 220 residents? Who decides the appropriate EDUs. And what's it based on? American Association of Water Usage? I don't know. Didn't state in the letter. Would like to have it looked into, Commissioners, please. Well, you know, I built my home there with my wife 12 years ago. Went through a contractor. The contractor never spoke a word, I never heard a word about an EDU until this letter come out. All of the residents through this contractor pay $1,150 a year for 30 years for the connection fee and other usage at that point. The builder paid that for us up front. Now we walk from there to paying our regular water and sewage bill for, I built the house 12 years ago, 12 years, okay? We've been paying the increases all along. Whatever water usage, us two, my wife and I, we use, we pay it. And it's increased over that 12 years. Fine, I understand that. I don't understand the new letter with the EDUs. I don't understand where it come from.
Sir, would you please wrap up your comments?
I'll be glad to, thank you. So, did anybody look into any federal funding of any sort? Well, I would just say this. Please listen to the residents more than you're listening to the consultants. And I would ask you to please repeal this resolution or amend it to or remove it entirely and remove it as it was originally intended.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. One more thing.
Next
I want to ask for an audit. A complete audit of the water and sewer department. I think it's necessary to restore confidence in the residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Killian. I'm here to speak on behalf of my family. First of all, I do agree with this lady here. I didn't catch your name. I'm sorry. If the original intent from the original commissioners was for this to be a commercial enterprise, then it just seems improper to, after the fact, roll the residential property in. So that's just up front. But this morning, you guys had a meeting, and my understanding is that one of the decisions was to pause these bills and then revisit the data. I just want to make my point clear that I believe the data itself is completely invalid. And my situation really explains that. I had a home built. Again, my builder paid all the fees up front. I never had any document presented to me letting me know there was a standard I'd be measured against, 18,000 gallons. It's not there. So I pulled up my last 3 years of water bills, and it's just myself and my wife in the home. We're retired, so we're there all the time. All 3 first quarters, my highest usage ever was 12,000 gallons. Then, second quarter, it bumps up to the 20 to 40 range. In the heat of the summer, it's up around the 40 to 50,000 gallons for the third quarter. The fourth quarter, it tapers back off to 20. The next year, the first quarter, it's right back to 11,000. That's because my builder put in, one of the options was a sprinkler system. So as I go through the year, I use additional water every day to keep my yard looking wonderful. Because I didn't know there was a standard I would one day be measured against. Now that I know there's a standard, going back and looking at that data is inappropriate. Because if I knew there was a standard, I wouldn't have done that. So the data you're looking at would never have been that high. So the point I wanted to make was, if you're going to go back and look at it, that data is invalid. It needs an entirely new study if we go that route. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Get it just down low for me. I live in my house by myself in a senior 55 and over development with a tiny lawn. One person, small lot. Apparently, my sin is that I have a sprinkler system. I appreciate all your apologies, but what we're trying to hear, or what we want to hear, is that these bills are null and void, and we're going to start from this point on, now that we know what the problem is. I also want somebody to look at my bills and tell me what the problem is and how I can solve it. because if I didn't know that there was a problem, how could I possibly solve it? And then I want you all to help. Now, I'm standing here so you can look at the people that you put this on, and I'm going to read you a pretty harsh letter I wrote, but I've been very upset. Dear County Commissioners, I would like to comment on the blindsided, without warning, retroactive assessment from the Department of Water and Sewage representing Calvert County government. The judgment unleashed on at least 300 citizens of this county is a travesty. As a person who paid their bill and their water and sewer bill on each quarter on time, I assumed my account was paid in full. Receiving a bill for $8,400 came as a shock. This discrepancy should have been handled in another way. If I was using more water and sewer than was allotted for my home, I should have been sent a warning and an explanation so that I could rectify the problem. Instead, I received an outrageous bill with little information, and it was retroactive. To add insult to injury, it took somebody over a week to return my calls or emails. This resulted in me getting headaches, so beside everything, you made me sick.
Ma'am, can we please have your name?
Gail Madera.
Thank you.
I live
Please-
down in Solomon.
Please wrap up your comments.
All right.
Your time is up.
I have lived and worked in Calvert County since 1978. I've obeyed its laws, paid its taxes, voted in its elections, and volunteered in its communities. The citizens of Calvert County deserve more consideration and transparency. As a senior citizen, widow, retired educator, I now live on a fixed income. To expect me to pay $8,400 for something I did not even know about is an unjust perversion.
Thank you, ma'am. If you'd like, if there is any written correspondence, we can make it part of the record. Just leave it with me. If there's a written letter, just leave it with me.
Hello, my name is Michelle Gutierrez, and my husband and I purchased our current home in Prince Frederick in 2019. We were shocked to receive a notice from Water and Sewer stating we owe $8,400. As was stated in the video in the Commissioners' meeting in 2016, the amended Water and Sewer Allocation Resolution 3216 was intended for businesses and not residential homeowners. Never did I think that I live in a county that would capitalize on COVID and try to make money out of it. As Mr. Willis, the county administrator, pointed out earlier today, the assessment was done during a time that, quote, may have been when people were working from home. Excuse me, but that was during 2020 when this entire room was forced to be at home with their children and 24/7 using their water in their home. So that was very insulting and deceiving this morning to say we may have been working from home. So also, back to my notes, there was no procedure in place when I called the Water and Sewer office one day after receiving this bill. No one could tell me if my water would be shut off if we did not pay this bill, and no one could tell me if there was a process to appeal the notice. We have heard today the county intends to pause this notice and reassess, but there are several questions left unanswered. First, will the residents that have already paid be reimbursed immediately while you are pausing? Second, will the base fee that we are currently being billed for water being used in the first quarter of 2023 revert back to the EDU rate fee it was before this notice was issued, so that we are not billed at the higher rate this quarter while you decide how to proceed? Third, will the Water and Sewer Department come out to each residence that received a notice and check that their meters are working properly? We are asking the Commissioners to repeal amended Water and Sewer Resolution 3216 or amend the resolution to remove residential homeowners as it was originally intended in 2016. We are also asking the Commissioners to audit the Water and Sewer Department's procedures and billing practices so that residents can feel confident that we are being billed correctly. I am hopeful that it is not the intention of the 2023 County Commissioners sitting here today to treat the residents so poorly, to burden us financially, or to try to control our households in these ways. If this is allowed to proceed as stated, I worry for all residents moving forward. What bills will come from the county next if this is left unchecked and allowed to happen? Today it is our family, but tomorrow it could be anyone. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and supporting staff. My name is Monica Daniels. I too am a realtor, as Sherry. I'm new to Marley Run. I've lived in Huntingtown now since March of 2020, and I've had confusion with the water bill since I got here. I did not receive one of these bills, but I heard about it, believe me. So I'm here to hear what's being done and how it got this far. It's devastating to think that I may have made a bad decision in leaving where I was to coming here, because I've had difficulty with the water department staff explaining to me my bills every 3 months. They're all over the place. So I too put in a sprinkler system, and I too put in a sub-meter, because that was the advice of the water department. That billing is crazy. So I agree that the water company may not be able to explain anything, and it's not just previous residents, it's new residents. I don't understand, and most of them don't understand, and I'm told there's only one person who reads all the meters for the entire county. And I've had discrepancies in my meter from one cycle to the next. It's lower or it's higher, and it's the same meter. So I do want you all to look at this carefully, and I want you to really consider a meter audit for everybody, and that one person who's reading all the meters, is he really reading the meters or is he guessing? Because I've had to have some corrections, and I've only been here less than 3 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello. My name's Richard Kreiniger. I live in the Highlands. I'm one of the few people that got the letters for there. I have one real problem. The EDU, do you think it's set maybe a little bit low? Because you figure, I got teenage girls living in my house. They use 50 gallons of water for a shower. You know, I know y'all can feel the plate, and I'm sure some of y'all have the same problems. But I have gone out and had to show the meter reader several times where the meters are at, because he says, do you have any idea where these are at? I can't get a reading. I show him where the meters are at. And I got one neighbor, his meter's behind a tree, and my neighbor and myself, the old neighbor, we put a piece of fabric over it so they could find it. It's never been addressed, never been looked at, never been changed or anything. And I go out every time the meter guy comes by, he pulls mine because water gets down in the pit. It rains. It's at a low point. What I'm wondering is, he's got to pump them out, and how accurate are these readers if he's getting them at all? You know, because he'll come by and say, oh, I can't find the meter for yours, I can't get a reading. Some of them are electronic, some of them are manual still, I'm sure, in the county. I can't imagine they've all been upgraded to electronic readers. I might be wrong. But I would just like somebody to look at it, and yes, I've checked my meter and make sure nothing's running. I'm like I said, I'm a plumber from 40 years. So I think the EDUs is set a little bit low on the amount of usage that people are using, especially those with sprinklers and different items. I just wonder if there's any way that we could raise that bar up a little bit. Other than that, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Stephanie Lewis. I've been here for 53 years. I lived in Bayside community for 24 years, and I received a bill for $3,000 recently for my water. I have my own sewer. Which showed an audit during COVID when 5 adults were quarantined to my home. I do have a larger family. Okay, so I thought I was paying for that amount of water through my water bill, not through an EDU or infrastructure that needed to be upgraded, or was shocked by it all, to be honest with you. So it's one thing to pay for the usage of water, it's another thing to be sent a bill for $3,000 during a period of time. I don't even think I have a meter. I've never seen anybody read anything at my house, ever. And I've been there 24 years. So if they are, I'm not sure where they're getting that information from I'm sure it needs to be upgraded. I think on my bill, the sub-meter was 0, so I don't even know that I have that. And so I think there were other people in my community that were here as well, but they left. So I don't know if anybody else, this is not a new community, and I had no idea that I could all of a sudden be charged for some $3,000 water bill and not on, I thought that was done monthly and charged monthly. And as well, my monthly bill has increased based on my water usage, I believe. So, I just don't, I really don't understand how the, new development in the county is being the businesses or this infrastructure that, and I understand you need maintenance, but why am I selected out of this? I've been there 24 years and I don't know where the rest of my community is, but how did I receive a bill and no one else did? It's just, I don't understand how that happened either. If that's the case, should we all be sharing in the cost to repair and maintain? That's all I have to say.
And again, anyone virtually, please press star 9 or use the raise your hand function.
My name is James Hobbs. I also received a water bill for $16,800. I have a few points I'd like to address. I know that was not aware there was a water usage quota or a cap. And we had to use a lot of extra water because of siding in my yard to try to save my foundation, because I have a lot of water runoff problems in my neighborhood because I'm in a natural swale neighborhood. My house should never probably been built there because I get everybody's runoff water. Sometimes I get 3 feet of running water across my property. We went to the county about it and talked to Public Works, and the lady came out and said, the engineer said that the 3 feet of water going across my property is because my neighbor's gutters were clogged. If I could ask my neighbors to raise their fence an inch so the water would flow more freely. And, you know, I've spent over $50,000 in the last 10 years trying to save my property because now my foundation's cracking. I got pads pulling away from my house because of the water runoff. And so, like I said, this all goes back to like water usage going up because I'm trying to do everything I can to save my house. I'm seeding, I'm sodding, and did not know that there was a cap on using the water. And like I said, it's just, the soil and stuff in my area is very bad, so I get no water going down the ground, so I get runoff, and there's no way to stop this stuff. So that was part of our problem, is that, you know, spending all this money to try, and then to save my property, and then not knowing there was a cappage on the usage at all. And again, like I said, I haven't seen very many people come read my meters either, and not aware of the sub-meter program or whatever about where if you're using water in your yard, that you don't get charged for the sewage for it, so. That's all I have to say.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Darren, and I live in Marley Run 3. I received a bill for $6,000. I too think this should be repealed. But I want to make a comment about the meters. About a year ago, I had an $800 water bill. I called Water and Sewer. I said, why do I have an $800 bill? It went up $400. I said, how often do you read the meters every time? No, ma'am, we don't read the meters every time. We only have one person that reads meters for residential and commercial businesses. We do estimates a lot of the time. So I don't understand that. If you can't find people to read the meters, how are you, what are you basing the estimates on? And I too think water and sewer needs to be audited. Their management is utterly despicable. That's all I have to say.
So, I've lived in the Prince Frederick area for about 5 years now. Bought my house brand new. Since day one, I have been fighting with water and sewer on issues of my bill, the amounts that I am paying, and being told that, oh, that's average for you, that's average for you. And then I call up and be told that I spent 5,000 gallons between the time of 12 midnight and 6 a.m. 5,000 gallons. While I'm asleep. I've had to put bricks in my toilets limit my children to time on what they're going to do in the tabs. I'm a household of 4 with a single income. I work 60 hours a week. And then day before New Year's, I get hit with an $8,400 bill. We are in a recession. People are scraping and pushing pennies together to get hit with something like this. I had you all come out and the water people come out and replace my meter because I've been asking for years for this meter to be inspected, made sure it was working right. I'm a household of 4. I've seen families with 6 or 7 or 8 people in them using a third of the water that I am in a household of 4. And I'm a townhouse, and being told quarterly that I'm spending 32,000 gallons of water. Enough to fill half of an Olympic-sized swimming pool. This is robbery. This is not fair to the people of this county. I moved down to this county for a better life, to be in a better area, to do better for my children. And this shenanigans is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Sir, can we have your name, please?
Thomas C. Hopkins IV.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Frances Smith, and I live in Owings, 20736 zip code. These are a couple of my neighbors here. There's probably 60 homes in our community. 3 of us got the bill. The biggest issue I have is lack of communication from the economic development, I guess, or the water company, stating that they're going to make these necessary, I don't even know what to say now. They, that they're going to inform us of these things that are going to happen, that this testing is going to go on, so that we can at least be aware of it. And, the county employees get paid well, and they need to be doing their jobs. I know they all just got big raises. Well, get more water meter readers, because I've never seen one, but I see them come cut my neighbor's water off for non-payment for a couple days. And basically my biggest concern is lack of informing the citizens of this. And I got this $3,000 bill, and I really want it to go away because I can't afford it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
And there's no one on Zoom. Please, anybody else that wants to speak, please step up to the microphone. Form a line.
Sure. Okay. You have to forgive me, I'm not very good at speaking publicly. So there's approximately 300 people affected by this, correct? And if the average bill is around 10 grand, we're talking about an issue of around $3 million. Okay, I get it. I am a reasonable person. Things cost things. I get it. You're the administrator of the water, correct?
No, sir, I'm the county administrator.
Okay, so then this is a question. Approximately how many gallons billable were issued in Calvert County? Does anybody have that figure?
This is an opportunity for you to provide comment. It's not an interaction, sir.
Well, the reason I say this is, let's say it's around 1 billion gallons. At 1/10 of a penny surcharge to everybody who uses the system, because from what I understand, all these fees are to maintain the system. From everybody who flushes their toilet once a year to people who want to sprinkle everything. So if you add 1/10 of a penny to 1 billion gallons, that's approximately $1 million. So has anybody thought in those terms, prorating the penalty for everybody? In the sense that my bill was 36,000 gallons. That was after you multiplied it by 1.2. That means I just went over the limit and I'm hit with an $8,400 bill. That's not proportional to what I did. I have no problem buying a product and paying for a product. I don't care about that. I'm a reasonable person. but charge me a reasonable rate. You sent me a bill for the water, I paid for the water, and now you're giving me a 200% increase. My total water bill for the last 2 years was approximately $4,000. This is tripling that. My taxes on my house are $4,000.
Can we have your name, sir?
Patrick O'Donnell.
Thank you.
All I'm
Next
asking
speaker.
for is just charge everybody a prorated necessary, because I get it. Things need to be maintained. I'm with you. I'm for good roads, good schools, good cops, good all that stuff. But just charge me a reasonable amount. The other thing is this morning
Sir,
you
please
yes.
wrap up your comments. Time is up.
Okay, you said this was approximately 5 to 6% went over. What about the other 95%? What are they paying to maintain the system? As I'm getting hammered with a sledgehammer when a scalpel would have done. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Whoops. You guys are going to love me this morning. I just want to tell you that.
We always love you, Myra.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm Myra Gowans, and I'm the founder of Calvert Citizens United. And I'm here to compliment you this morning. Greetings, Commissioners. Calvert Citizens United, Inc. earnestly congratulates you, our new board, for your exceptional campaigning and victory. CCU is aware that you sought out the mood and the heartfelt measure of the electorate long before the primary season was in gear. Your promises and actions appear strikingly audacious, along with your public pledges to not just talk the talk, but truly commit to act on your campaign promises to protect Calvert, the smallest, most fragile county in the state and Chesapeake region, which filters the waters of the Bay of Patuxent. Countyans applauded your elimination of the proposed master plans and Phase 2 in Prince Frederick. That measure allows the new board, this new board, to operate and fulfill its obligations to tax-paying citizens. Clearly, the 2019 comprehensive plan was not the will of countyans, but was contrived by the desires and demands of special interest individuals, which were memorialized by high-paying Baltimore consultants and approved by Timothy Hutchins' board. Commissioner Hans's board has pledged to our taxpayers that such a costly travesty will never happen again. Bravo. As candidates, voters reacted to your concerns as the board acknowledged that the 450-page operating and capital budget continues to spiral out of control. During the candidate forums, you assured voters you would do everything in your power to restructure costs, even opening dialogue and possibly renegotiating the Dominion lease, employing outside negotiators to work with Warren Buffett's team. Our citizens are behind the BOCC in this action. In July 2022, just 6 months ago roughly, Warren Buffett negotiated his 20-year agreement, shipping 750 million cubic feet of liquid natural gas daily to India and Japan from our little Cove Point. Commissioner Ireland personally witnessed tankers up and down the Chesapeake waiting to load up. I believe, and we believe, Buffett's team will recognize renegotiation is warranted. As candidates, each of you bravely advocated to protect the county from traffic gridlock. The reality is Calvert has one main street. It's 38 miles long, and it's named Route 4. Calvert has a nuclear power plant next to an LNG plant. Today, those permits most likely would not be granted side by side due to possible meltdown and mass exodus. As tax-paying commissioners, you fully understand and appreciate the behemoth cost of widening Route 4 due to costly legal battles for land acquisition through eminent domain. By voting for you, the citizens clearly support the board's efforts to improve the flow of traffic by recognizing overdevelopment as the main culprit. Lastly, it was immensely gratifying for you as candidates to recognize and admit that the state had no intention of funding $40 million to move sewer from Prince Frederick to Solomons. Big box stores and commercialization will be the ruination of our local small businesses. Every effort must be made to promote, protect, and expand small businesses, which each member of the 2023 BOCC have promised to do. Kudos and prayers for each one of you for possibly the most ungodly job you'll ever have. And this is on behalf of the board of Calvert Citizens United and everybody who's paid into those legal fees for the Supreme Court decision, which is pending. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Willis, and all of you attendees. This is democracy at work. I know it's arduous, but this is the way it's got to be, and there's bloodshed for our privileges to do this. And I'm Bob Estes. I live in Prince Frederick, and I'm speaking for Friends of Hunting Creek. Well, maybe not that first part, but I think they'd agree. So, when I came in here, I thought to myself, Commissioner Weems sure has a different haircut this time. Then I realized that you all have swapped places.
I got more hair.
I don't think so.
Steve somewhere's laughing.
Well, that's always my hope. And one public service announcement for you guys. When you're speaking, you got a bunch of people here that don't hear as well, and I did poll some of the people. If you could make sure you're speaking right into those tiny little microphones, we would really, really appreciate it. And maybe I'll just pull my ear next time and you'll understand what that means. So I'm here really to speak, first of all, congratulations and welcome to all the new commissioners. And you're taking on a noble responsibility that what you're getting paid for this is only a fraction of what you're doing is worth. So we understand that. Today I'd like to speak about, guess what, stormwater management. That's no surprise to many of you all in modeling and such. It's my understanding that we're actually going to have a good model of future stormwater management, and that modeling effort has been bolstered by another grant of money, correct? Yes? Okay, very good, which is very important, of course. My problem, though, with Public Works and other entities in the county is they know right now that what we're designing to is a failed standard of rainfall. They know it. You all know it. The data says it. And yet, we're going ahead with major projects, such as the administrative building, which is going to last, 50 years maybe, with a standard that doesn't even meet the current, let alone the future requirements. Who designs something that already is in a failure mode? No engineer I know would stand behind that. That's not, I myself am an engineer. I design spacecraft, and I understand that stormwater management is not spacecraft, but engineering has basics. If you go with the standards, if they're out of date, then you look, what do I need to do to make this vehicle, make this road, make this system last its expected lifetime? I don't believe that we're doing that. And I don't know why. I fail to understand that. And so far, these notes, well, forget them all. I think you guys understand that. And Mr. Willis, you're in charge of these people. You know the standard we're designed to is way out of date, way out of date. My favorite example is the current standard. They may say that we're doing better than everybody else, but that's Louisiana politics. That's not Calvert politics. We need to do better. We care about the Bay, right? We care about the Bay. Everybody here says so, but do we? What are your actions? What are you doing to protect it when you know you're going to fail and dump pollutants into the Bay, into the river? What's your excuse? What is it? Watermen, you want to see more grass on the floors of our rivers and things destroyed by sediment? No, of course not. What are you going to do about it? You guys have the power to make this right. If you really believe that these systems should be designed more robust, will they be more expensive? Maybe. But what's the long-term cost of not doing it? That's the problem. So I'm urging you all to consider putting some margin into the system at the very least. And I know you can't have everything. Everything costs money. And there's a balance. But the balance isn't to say, well, we can't afford it. What if you, when the new regulation come out and you were going to build another large building, would you say, oh, let's go back to the old one? You wouldn't do that. We know that we're going to get more rainfall than what is currently projected. Right now, a 10-year storm is happening every 2 years. So you know it's out of whack. That's pretty much all I have to say. And if anybody wants to see that data, I have it. 16 years of it. I have it sorted, ready for you to look at it anytime you want, anytime. Public Works has it as well. So thank you.
Any more speakers? Anyone else? Or is this?
We have one public comment on Zoom.
Okay.
Christian Dellis, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you will be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm Christian Dellis. I live in Marley Run, Section 3. And I thankfully did not receive the water bill, but really hate the thought of it hanging over my head and being possible to receive in the future. So I really hope that the county commissioners can repeal it completely for all individuals, and also have questions about frequencies of audits in the future and how they would be implemented. And also, I know it's affected a number of people that I've heard from that moved into the area after the audit period was conducted, and I don't know how in the world they could be held accountable for any water that they didn't actually use. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If anyone else wishes to speak, please press *9 now. All right, caller with phone number ending in 7812. We are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you will be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please unmute now. Okay. Caller ending in 6467. We are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you will be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of the group. Please press *6 to unmute your phone.
Hello, my name is Patricia. I currently live in London. I received the bill for $60.82. I have a serious bill. I wasn't expecting a bill. I family recently moved to the area in 2018, and it's just what I did. I've been reading the requirements and food. We would not live to this bill. We weren't given an option. Our family had a leak. There are two studies. We paid for the bill, $2,300, but it's still being done. The bill needs to be looked at. The resolution that is just needs to be looked at. It's not fair, and it's harmful to the customers at this time. Thank you.
Mr. President, I noted that telephone number. I will call that commenter back and get a summary of the comments.
Caller ending in 7812, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you will be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please press *6 to unmute your phone.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Chad Smith. I live at 3315 Liberty Lane, and I support everything that my community neighborhood friends have said. And I wanted to make sure that, I mean, this is very important. We've come from different places where we live, and our water bill has never been near what it is in Calvert County. And so I would like, on behalf of my neighbors, what they've said, replicate everything that they said, but I'd also like to voice my opinion on the transparency. When you all get information, especially financials, if you all could be transparent with us, as we need to be communicating back and forth, because in effect, communication doesn't do us any justice. So on behalf of the transparency, I would like to request that Calvert County simply give us some type of information on what we're paying every year as we're connected to water and sewer. It would be nice to know that this community is paying our fair share in what is the fair share. So that is what I'd like to request. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. If anyone else wishes to speak, please press *9 now. All right, caller ending in 7026. We are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you will be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please press *6 to unmute your phone now. All right, it looks like there are no other public comments.
Thank you, Andrew.
Sorry, 7026 did just raise their hand again. Caller 7026, we are ready to receive your comments. Please state your name and address and whether you will be speaking as an individual or as the designated representative of a group. Please press *6 to unmute your phone.
Hey, so good morning. My name is Joseph Aaron II. I live at 310 Summerwood Drive. I really appreciate the commissioners taking this conversation on. The one thing that I wanted to say is that I've been able to move back into the county after serving 30 years in the military. One of the issues that we always had in the military was trusting but verifying. And so I just want to ensure that when that information is now passed along from individuals within the department, the chain of command to the commissioners, that information is correct and that accountability is there. A couple of commissioners this morning talked about the fact that some of the staff, is what I heard, I wrote that down, had not passed along all the information that was necessary to make decisions. So just want to ensure that as we move forward, accountability is at the forefront of what we're trying to see. Thank you.
All right, there are no more callers online.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is David Coxon, and I own a home in Burr Oak, or Oak Tree Landing, 612 Burr Oak Court, Prince Frederick, Maryland. I want to first thank Sherry for everything she's done in the last 2 weeks. In some people in this room's opinion, she might have done more for us in the last 2 weeks than many of our county-appointed officials have done in the past few years. December 30th, I was sent a text from a close friend and Calvert County school bus driver alerting me of the bills coming out in Calvert. My immediate response was, "That's crazy scam, ignore it." I then went into a long explanation about front foot fees, capital connection, capital contributions, title insurance, etc., as I thought I was educating her. I was wrong. Very quickly, I found out the bills were real. However, I still stand by my initial statement. It is and was a scam. I want to emphasize up front that the resolution mostly almost all pertains to businesses. We are not changing anything for the homeowners. I just want to make that clear. As Sherry stated earlier, this was the opening statement of the proposed water and sewer revision presentation by Sharma put before the county commissioners in September 2016. When did this narrative change? Where were the commissioners notified, or was this a lie from the beginning? Later on in the public posted video recording, our commissioners on that day, September 2016, a joke or statement was made that Sharma was a man of his word. However, in the future, if somebody else should take his place that did not have the same intention, the commissioners had the ability to give them the pink slip. So I ask, who needs to be fired? It was mentioned earlier today by the commissioners that some of our neighboring counties have higher water and sewer fees. I sold 162 homes in our bordering counties since this audit began, and every one of them signed up to pay a front foot fee and pay the fees in those counties. If I had disclosed that they might receive an outrageous capital connection fee within the next couple of years after purchase, they would have not purchased the home, as no one I know can afford a surprise bill of this magnitude. I would like to ask the county commissioners, water sewer division, and county attorneys, should real estate professionals be disclosing this to home buyers? If so, could you imagine telling a potential home buyer in Calvert County that they might receive a bill upwards of $8,000, $10,000, $20,000 should they buy a home on the public water and sewer?
Thank you, sir.
If this is the case, and real estate market will suffer and force home buyers to be looking for homes in our bordering neighborhood counties. I close with this. I've heard a lot of laughter in this room today, as I heard on the recording in 2016. When the revision was voted in. I can assure you the homeowners in Calvert County are not laughing. We are furious and scared for our families and community's future. Thank you.
We're good? So, thank you all for your comment. I apologize. Normally, these microphones are so sensitive, they'll hear a fly flying by, and if today they weren't picking up, I don't know what's going on, but that's not normal. So we'll start with Commissioner reports. Commissioner Cox.
Okay, I'll make this quick. So, I want to apologize again. Your voices have been heard, and we are committed to get this issue straight. We have a school board swearing in this Thursday at 3:30. We also had a wonderful conference at Mako this week. It was a great way to network with our fellow neighboring counties. I want to say again, I'm glad to hear Special Deputy James Flint has returned home. I want to just say one more time about passing of Charles Lynn. He will be missed. Happy birthday to my son. It's today. And my grandson has a 1-year-old birthday on Saturday. So I want to wish him a happy birthday. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Ireland?
Thanks. I just want to say I'm very disappointed in how this was done. And a lot of times in life, it's not necessarily what's done, it's how it's done. I think this is definitely one of those situations. I can assure you, as Commissioner Grasso and Commissioner Cox echoed earlier, that this board will do everything we can to fix this problem. I also want to say that Bud Walton, who was a lifelong resident of Huntingtown, passed away yesterday. He was actually, for those of you who know Mexico Restaurant, but when it was Surrey Inn, he was the owner of Surrey Inn. He lived, like I say, lived in Huntingtown his entire life. The Mako conference, as Commissioner Cox said, was very informative. We made a lot of good contacts there, and we learned, sat in some pretty extensive sessions and learned a lot. We really did. So, thank you.
Commissioner Grasso?
First of all, I want to thank the audience for being here today and exercising your democratic right. We will get this fixed, I can assure you. I did attend the Mako conference as well. It was very informative. Oh my gosh, it was an overload of information for sure, but it was a very good experience. Deputy Flint is home. I don't know if any of you saw the procession bringing him home, but it really does solidify the uniqueness of Calvert County and how we do things. Thank you.
Commissioner Hart?
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, as to echo my fellow commissioners, obviously the goal is perfection at all times. Anything less, you've fallen short. Are you going to achieve perfection all times? No. It's how you respond to failing. So what I would ask you out there is, you've heard us all apologize. None of us want this. None of us want to see you sitting out there. Is how do we respond? And grade it on that. I think that's a fair assessment. We've all acknowledged that mistakes have happened. None of us are happy with where we're at today. So let's see how we respond going forward. I have confidence in staff, in Administrator Willis, and this board that we will come to a fair and respectable solution of this, and that the goal, as always, is the people of Calvert County. We have a job because of the people out there. I don't have a job because of St. Mary's or Charles or anything like that. So that is the goal, and I believe we will attain that. And like I say, the apology means nothing if we don't make it right. So with that said, I attended Eagle Scout Award for Elijah Owens. Fantastic young man. I've known his family for quite a while. Remarkable family. Great young man. Always enjoy these Eagle Scout Awards. Great news, Officer Flint coming home. I believe I'm right when I say this. I don't believe we've ever had an officer shot in the line of duty before. Hopefully we never have it again. It just shows how fast things can change on a dime. Quite sure that morning when he woke up and went out to his job that, I'm sure he always realized the dangers are out there, but he didn't, I would hope that our men and women are not thinking that's where I'm going to be at today. So our thoughts and prayers will stay with him. Thank goodness he is home, and prayer for a full recovery and back to duty. Passing of Charlie Busey. If any of you knew Charlie Busey, Charlie was awesome. Charlie's part of that generation, doesn't hold back, tells you what he thinks. He would come to the store all the time and he'd say, I don't like what you're doing with this, that, and the other. I said, well, what you doing about it, Charlie? He says, well, I'm too old to stay on that board. I says, no, you're not, Charlie. And Charlie stayed on these boards, and he volunteered and gave everything he had all the way till he just didn't have any more to give. What a fantastic man. Boy, we had some great discussions, and I am truly going to miss Charlie Busey. And Bob Harvey's thing we attended, swearing in. It was really cool to see, to live in a county that law and order is respected like that. That kind of turnout, that, law and order still has a place, and it's revered. And then lastly, I want to welcome my new board. Look forward to working with each and every one of you. As you've seen today, sometimes it's challenging, sometimes, but that's just, as my uncle used to say, fleas come with the dog. So I think we got a lot better days ahead of us than we have worse days. And I'm always going to feel that way, when I sit back and I look at the rest of the state and I see what's going on. I love my biggest complaint that day is they say, hey, Mike, I need more sidewalks. Never going to be perfect, but you always have to strive to be. So, and that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
So I too, you know, the buck stops here. We all signed up to do this, and in my 4 years, we've had little situations come up and arise, and as Commissioner Hart said, it's not, you know, it's how you respond. And my promise to every one of you here today is we're going to get to the bottom of this and we're going to fix it. And I want to thank all of you for reaching out. You know, you didn't have to call a TV station, you didn't have to call a state senator. All you had to do was call us, because at the end of the day, we were going to fix this from the first complaint. Didn't matter what they said, because as I said earlier, some of the stories that we heard just don't make sense. You know, we have to do better, and we're going to do better, and we'll get through this, and that, however long it takes, we're going to fix this and get it right. But, you know, you can always, that's what the system is about. You know, this system that we have here is about communication. And if anybody out there thought that we were just going to sit back and do nothing, then I'm sorry. We've got to do better if that was a perception that you had, that we weren't going to fix this, because we were. And I too want to add my hope that Deputy Flynn recovers fully. He's still got a long road ahead of him, and as Commissioner Hart said, it's the first time we've ever had an officer shot in the line of duty, and hope he does well. It's not the kind of thing we're used to here in Calvert County, and it's not the kind of thing we're going to tolerate. We'll remind everybody that Thursday at 3 o'clock, the school board's going to swear in the new school board, and on Friday at 3 o'clock right here, we'll have our legislative hearing with our delegation. Everyone is invited to attend. And I just found out today is my wife's birthday. And
Happy birthday.
I hope she celebrates many more, at least one more than I do.
I always say that too. I say, you know, I hate to be selfish, but that's one. I don't want to outlive Carolyn. You know.
Just can't picture being on this earth without her. So
Same way.
that's what my hope is. So my promise to you again is on camera. We're going to fix this. No matter how long it takes, we're going to fix it. That's all I have to say to all of you. And with that, I believe I need a motion.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I move we recess to executive session pursuant to sections 3 dash.
When do you think y'all are gonna start working on this product, at the meetings or?
Yesterday.
Okay, I know it's yesterday, I know that.
No, yesterday we started working on this.
Okay.
We're in process of that.
When approximation is it?
As long as
When,
it takes.
till it's right.
As long as it takes.
Till it's right.
Okay,
As long as it
so
takes.
as it stands right now, there are no bills out there.
Correct.
Okay, so no bills have to be paid. Okay.
No.
I just want to make sure.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No. Commissioner?
So I move to recess to executive session pursuant to sections 3-305B3 and B7 to consider acquisition of property for public purpose and consult with counsel to obtain legal advice.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we go into executive session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you all and have a great day.